What's up guys, this is Red Crossover. I'm back with a new episode of What If Naruto Was the Red Flash Part 28. And if you did enjoy the video, consider liking if you're new to my channel, like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions. Now let's begin this new video.
Naruto awoke the next morning in a small room of an inn in a decent portion of King's Landing. He paid for a room and was given a quite comfortable bed in which to sleep. He got out of bed and cracked his neck, back, and arms before getting up and walking over to his room's wash basin. He poured the jug of water into the basin and cleaned his hands before washing his face to rouse him. One disadvantage of living in a medieval-style environment was the lack of coffee. He was cleaning himself off before putting on his jacket when a wave of nausea hit him. Nothing too terrible, just a little period of dizziness indicating that his metabolism was a touch low this morning, so he dug into his bag and pulled out 2 of his speedster energy bars, which he ate. He sat on the bed and relaxed, using the calories and energy from the energy bars to aid his metabolism before leaving his room and making his way downstairs to a seat at an empty table. One of the innkeepers came over with a platter of fried bacon, eggs, fish, cheese, and bread, as well as a jug of mead. "Thank you," Naruto said before starting to eat. He'd be fine to use his powers again today if he had the 2 energy bars he had previously in this. When he observed a mother and her 2 children on the street nearby looking hungry, he grabbed his plate and headed out of the inn. He walked over and placed it next to them. "Here. You need this more than I do." "Thank you," the mother replied as she and her children sat down to eat. He smiled and returned inside to buy more food for the other folks on the street who were hungry. He handed the innkeeper a gold coin and received several dozen plates of hot food, which he began dishing out to the people on the streets, providing much-needed sustenance and briefly raising their spirits. When he heard the steps of heavy boots and metal armor followed by the murmuring and hazy chattering of the small folk, he was dragged out of his little good deed and pondering. When he looked around, he noticed a troop of 12 Lannister men in full armor and gear walking down the street. Based on the reactions of those around him, he concluded that the Lannister soldiers walking through the city was an unwelcome and unexpected sight. They weren't roaming around as if they were off duty or on their way to a brothel, but rather as if they were here on orders. The soldiers looked around and conversed with others until one of them pointed directly at him. That provided him with his response. "Let's see where this goes," Naruto mumbled, straightening up as the Lannister troops approached him. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" "You're coming with us because the Queen wants to see you," one of the Lannister soldiers said. "Since you're all Lannister soldiers, I'm guessing the Queen you're referring to is Cersei. Well, you can tell the Queen that I'm not inclined to accede to her request," Naruto replied, only to be met with puzzled stares that caused him to shake his head in amazement. Translation: No. It wasn't a request. One Lannister soldier approached him and grabbed his arm, only for Naruto to quickly push his hand away, kick out one of his legs, smack his head into a wall, and then elbow him in the side of the head. While the rest unsheathed their swords, the Lannister soldier collapsed to the ground. Everyone in the immediate vicinity backed away in horror, while Naruto stood there calmly. "That should teach you to mind your manners," Naruto said before cracking his neck and deciding to annoy them. "I'd just take your man, go back to your boss, and tell her that I don't work for her and I'm not going to start now, so you can tell her from me. Fuck her family, and fuck all of you." One of the soldiers approached to kill him, but Naruto kicked the sword out of his hand, kicked him in the jaw, punched him in the gut, and then knocked him out with a rising elbow blow to his jaw. When 2 Lannister soldiers assaulted him at the same time, he just dodged and avoided their assaults. He punched one in the side and kicked him back before punching the other in the face and avoiding a lunge. Naruto jabbed him in the elbow, punched him in the shoulder, cut him in the neck, hit him in the gut, causing him to double over, and then landed a roundhouse kick to the face. He turned into a tornado kick, knocking out the Lannister soldier in front of him. He covered the gap between himself and another soldier, blocking his arm as he swung his sword, then grasping his wrist and twisting it so he dropped the weapon. Naruto then punched him in the neck, poked him in the chest, punched him in the belly, punched him in the chest, punched him in the neck again, and knocked him out with 7 more chain punches all over his torso. He drew his sword to parry and block some thrusts and slashes before striking the soldier in the side, knocking one of his legs out from under him, and elbowing him in the back of the head. One Lannister soldier tried to strike him from behind, but Naruto whirled and swung his sword down hard, shattering the guy's blade in half before swiping at his arm and then leg. Both hits broke bones in each limb, while a sword to the face knocked out several of his teeth and broke his nose. Naruto approached another soldier and knocked him off his feet before slamming his sword into his groin and stamping on his ankle. 3 soldiers charged and assaulted Naruto, but he stopped them all with his katana before slamming them from head to toe. He shattered the first guy's left arm and punched him in the groin, broke the second guy's leg and then knocked him out with a pommel strike to the head, and fractured the third guy's collarbone and nose. There was only one soldier remaining, and he was terrified as Naruto approached him. The man dropped his sword and backed up against a wall. Naruto raised his sword, and the man closed his eyes in terror, waiting for the ultimate stroke, which never came. He opened his eyes to see Naruto sheath his sword on his back before smiling. And then punching him in the face, causing his nose to bleed. In pain, he clutched his nose and collapsed to his knees. So, as I previously stated, I don't take orders from Cersei. Tell her that after you get these men some assistance, okay? Naruto asked, and the man nodded. Good job, boy. Naruto jokingly pats him on the head before stealing the man's currency pouch off his belt. He did the same, retrieving the coin pouches carried by the Lannister warriors and distributing them to those who needed them more than the Lannisters. After that, he resolved to pay the High Sparrow a visit and assess him with his own eyes, so he sped away. The High Sparrow, now High Septon, might be seen going around the Great Sept of Baelor, carrying to the numerous shrines and conducting other maintenance work. He scrubbed the floors, dusted the statues, sculptures, and crypts, and lit the prayer candles. He had just completed lighting the candles around the sculptures of the father and mother when a blast of wind rushed by him, extinguishing the candles he had just lit. What would you be doing if there weren't candles for you to light? Naruto asked as he moved down the steps into view. My money is on torturing innocent people because a religious text you believe is infallible. As Naruto walked down the stairs, the High Sparrow observed him. He didn't know the man directly, but he recognized his appearance. He'd heard stories from his followers about a foreigner interfering with their deeds of justice in cleansing the city, including averting House Tyrell's capture, and one of his sparrows even told him that he could disappear and reappear using magic. Naruto observed the High Sparrow look around the sept and didn't see any sparrows, which was odd because some sparrows would be on guard duty. Your sparrows will not be joining us. They are currently tied up so we can have a private moment to talk, Naruto explained. Are you here to kill me? Inquired the High Sparrow. Naruto replied, No, by chance. I don't kill, so you're safe. I'm here because I wanted to see you with my own eyes. Look at the man who uses the faith of the Seven to harm people. I am a god's man, simply enforcing their will, the High Sparrow explained. And how do they tell you to enforce their will? Send you a raven. Naruto joked. Oh, I know. They play the telephone game and have an army of people pass the message along to you. You should be more careful about insulting the gods in this holy place, advised the High Sparrow. And it's the holy texts, the 7-pointed star, which I can lend you if you don't have one. I know the 7-pointed star. I may appear to be a foreigner, but I know it and its teachings. Just as men bow to their lords and lords to their kings, so kings and queens must bow before the 7 who are one. Married men and women must stay faithful to each other until death. Pride goes before a fall. Death is never far in this world, and 7 hells await sinners who do not repent their sins. He knew this because of his extensive reading of the Ice and Fire books, as well as his research on the wikis with Cisco. The High Sparrow admitted, impressive. However, you are overlooking one: spirits, revenants, and armies cannot harm a pious man if he is armored in his faith. I'm not sure how much good that did the sparrows I took down, but tell yourself what you want to hear, Naruto said, pushing the conversation forward to assess his reaction. What do you want, and what motivates a man like you? I serve the gods, as you say, and that is my motivation, the High Sparrow said. So, the gods tell you to send your minions out into the city to attack people enjoying their day at a tavern, destroy the wares of traders trying to make a living, and then attack the city's brothels, which I'm not going to blame you for, but how you went about it wasn't nice, Naruto explained. My minions, as you say, destroyed debauchery institutions and cleansed the streets of alcohol that causes sin. Protecting the faith from blasphemers who peddle false gods to the people. And the men and women who commit sins of the flesh must be judged and purified. Purification is a necessary part of forgiveness, though not always delicate or pleasant, the High Sparrow explained, and Naruto could tell by his voice he meant every word. He either believed what he was selling or was a better actor, manipulator, and schemer than Littlefinger. It was a toss-up as to whether answer was correct. The faith of the 7 is the guiding light, and our job is to bring people back to the faith. I believe you are not a follower of the faith of the Seven based on your appearance and actions. No, I'm not. I have nothing against religion or a person's right to believe whatever they want, but there's one fundamental difference between you and me, Naruto explained. And what's that? Inquired the High Sparrow. I don't force my point of view or belief on others against their will. I believe in something known as freedom of choice. The right for everyone to believe in whatever they want to believe in as long as it doesn't cause harm, Naruto pointed out. You have turned your mindless followers into a violent mob, and you use the faith of the Seven as an excuse to hurt people. Like the High Lords of the Seven Kingdoms have done to this country over the past several years in their war for the crown? Asked the High Sparrow. Wars teach people to obey the sword, not the gods. And with Cersei, you're their sword, aren't you? Naruto wondered. I'll give you this, you're smart. You knew how to play people off of each other. You saw Cersei coming from a mile away and manipulated your way into the right kind of power. You started out as a pious group of fanatics, but now, you have clubs and authority. The High Sparrow instructed him, authority of the faith militant to serve and protect the crown and dispense the justice of the Seven. An army that defends the body and faith of the common people. An honor I never wanted. I think we both know that's a lie, Naruto remarked as their gazes connected. A part of me wonders if you truly believe what you're preaching or if it's all a facade, a mask you put on in front of people to hide your true intentions. And what would that be? Questioned the High Sparrow. Someone who wanted power and to hurt the high-born royals and people of influence. They've been untouchable with their money and status, which must drive you insane. They're just as bad sinners as the common people, yet they get away with it and are even looked up to, Naruto explained. Very true. Every man, woman, and child among the Seven is equal and must be judged as such, remarked the High Sparrow. Yet I have a feeling you enjoy making the high-born feel as powerless as everyone else. On the other hand, I could be wrong and you're a fanatic, but where I'm from they often say that fanaticism is the monster that masquerades as a child of religion, Naruto observed. And where exactly do you call home? Inquired the High Sparrow. Neither Westeros nor Essos, Naruto responded. And what gods do you pray to? What noble teachings and tenets do your people follow that give you such fire, charisma, and self-assurance in your ways? The Seven are the only true gods in this world. From one came seven, their blessings, teachings, justice, and mercy is what birthed this world and man. When man listened to the Seven, there was peace and prosperity until the arrival of the Targaryens.
That's your point of view, and that's the tricky thing about perspective.
What you think is best for everyone may not be, Naruto pointed out, but I've heard enough. My opinion of you has been formed. I see someone devious, smart, devious, ruthless, and unwavering in his beliefs. Someone with clear devotion to his religion but not to its greater understandings. If you truly were a man of the gods, you wouldn't be so harsh in your teachings. A true believer would never do what you've done against people just because they don't believe or do what you do.
In response, the High Sparrow smiled. For one so young and misguided, you are very wise and educated, may the Seven forgive one so lost. Naruto only smirked before little flashes of lightning appeared around his feet. When the High Sparrow saw the sparks of crimson and white lightning, he was perplexed, but more continued to form around the unusual guy. Before Naruto closed his eyes, more and more lightning was generated, and a massive storm of lightning erupted from his body. In fright, the High Sparrow moved away and shaded his eyes from the brilliant lights. Even from outside the sept, people could see the vivid crimson and white lights emanating from the simple and stained glass windows. The lightning storm passed quickly, and Naruto opened his eyes to see the High Sparrow's shocked expression. The elderly man had seen a lot, but he had never seen anything like that. I don't need their forgiveness when they've already given me something else, Naruto said. The gods don't bless a pious moron or zealot who is blinded by faith.
How? Mumbled the High Sparrow, and Naruto devised a suitable response. The gods know exactly who to bless with unique gifts, people with good hearts who will use them for the right reasons, Naruto said before turning around and walking to the exit. Or else what? The High Sparrow said, causing Naruto to pause. Or else I'll stop you. The good guy stops the bad guy. That's what heroes do. Naruto flashed with lightning before supersonic speeding away. He met the High Sparrow and found out a lot about him. He wasn't as well versed in detective work as Bruce, and he didn't have the history or experience in reading people as he or Oliver did, but he'd learned enough to know that the High Sparrow was dangerous.
someone who utilized his religious persona to gain influence and now power, sort of like a religious Littlefinger. Or a sincere believer in what he was saying, with no reservations about how to get there. To be honest, the second one was scarier. Zealots were frequently the most deadly people. Naruto believed that his warning would delay him down long enough for Marjorie and House Tyrell to retake control of the city.
XXXXX line break. Naruto stayed in King's Landing for a while, assisting the inhabitants of the city in any way he could. That was accomplished by providing people with food, using his medical skills obtained from Caitlyn to assist those who were sick or injured, and overall enhancing the cleanliness quality in the city. The final portion was mostly for his benefit because the city smelled like a porta-potty after 1,000 people used it on a very hot day with no cleaning. If you think there wasn't a smell for it, Naruto discovered it at King's Landing. He was certain that his clothes would still stink like the city when he left this world.
It was simple to assist folks who were ill or injured. Caitlyn taught him a lot, and having Gideon in his ear with his plethora of medical knowledge allowed him to manage anything. The majority of the problems are due to poor hygiene and water quality, such as lice, rashes, and pinworms, as well as more serious difficulties such as cholera, typhoid, and occasional dysentery instances. Thank goodness for modern medication and antibiotics, but he had to be cautious about how much he used or he'd run out. Food was slightly more difficult, but not impossible. He solved this by literally taking a massive fishing net and heading out into the water, bringing in massive nets of fresh fish and seafood for the city's residents. Anyone could get some fresh food, which improved the atmosphere of the city significantly. He also used some of his gold to pay bakers and farmers for bread and vegetables.
Cleaning the city was the most difficult because it required some planning and improvisation. He didn't have access to a significant supply of cleaning goods, or even modern cleaning supplies.
He suspected that the people of Westeros were unfamiliar with Kleenex or even bleach, so he had to adapt.
Fortunately, Gideon had a vast knowledge of the land, so she was able to give him an old-school soap recipe.
It wouldn't be like contemporary soap, but it would at least clean things up a little, but it turned out he didn't need it because there were certain craftsmen and shops that actually manufactured medieval soap. It was simply a mixture of rendered fat or oil and lye derived from wood ash.
It wasn't nice, but it did the job. Naruto bought everything he could with a gold coin and then went on a cleaning frenzy at breakneck speed after boiling up 24 buckets of water. For an hour, all everyone could see was a scarlet and white lightning storm sweeping across King's Landing. The City Watch were in a frenzy, but they had no idea what was going on. But again, what else was new? However, his acts and the rumors that spread across the city drew the attention of the royalty. King Tommen was intrigued by what was going on, but he wasn't precisely the city's true ruler. Cersei, Queen Mother, suspected that the mysterious savior in the city was the same guy who had attacked her warriors and wanted him dead. Queen Marjorie, on the other hand, was curious. Several Tyrell soldiers and men-at-arms were seen marching through the city until they reached a large square with a long line of people waiting for something. They were apparently waiting for meals because Naruto had set up a makeshift cooking station outside a tavern complete with a gigantic bonfire and a massive pot of soup. He was racing around the area, swiftly filling everyone's bowls with fish soup and bread. He returned to his position at the pot, and the crowd moved around to find available sitting at tables or on the ground. Naruto moved about giving them a second helping if they needed it, as well as additional bread, and they all smiled.
When he felt sick, Naruto returned to his improvised kitchen outside the bar and handed some extra soup to some kids and patted them on the head.
He grasped the table for support and took a few long breaths before digging into his pocket and swallowing 2 quick energy bars. After what happened on Earth 21, a part of him was relieved he had the foresight to manufacture so many of them. He'd manufactured over 10,000, which he'd reduced down into 100-piece groups to make eating easier. He had eaten a few dozen before arriving on his planet, but with all of his battling and running around, he had been using his speed more and more, which meant his metabolism was working overtime. And one of the things historians never mention is the availability of food in medieval times, especially after the conflict that Westeros has recently experienced. Naruto had eaten through 3,000 of his initial 10,000, leaving him with roughly 7,000. When he got around 1,000, he'd have to be more cautious with his speed and hope that the next Earth had easier access to plentiful food. Naruto sipped some water and felt the sickness subside before cracking his neck and returning to work. He noticed the soldiers enter the square at that point. Their presence was unsettling, but he noticed that their emblem was the Tyrell rose, therefore Cersei didn't send them. "I take it you gents are here to see me?" Naruto asked, and one of the men nodded. "Her Grace the Queen has asked us to find you and bring you to her." "Of course," Naruto replied, handing the bar owner another gold coin as he and his employees continued to serve the hungry. He collected his knapsack and sword and proceeded to the Red Keep with the warriors. He was led to a side entrance rather than inside the fortress. He was instead led to the gardens overlooking Blackwater Rush. It was pleasant, and the perfume of fresh flowers and seawater helped to mask the stench of urine and shit from the rest of the city. They walked by stewards, maidens, workers, and high-born who lived in the Red Keep, and Naruto's appearance received strange looks that he no longer noticed. The guards led him through the gardens till he arrived to a little flower-filled pavilion where some handmaidens awaited. "Your sword," the soldier said as he unhooked it from his shoulder and handed it to Naruto along with his bag. "Just so you know, I have a good memory and know everything in my bag, so don't get any ideas," Naruto said before proceeding. He walked past handmaidens who lowered their heads as he saw Queen Marjorie sitting at a table with her brother Loras, a Kingsguard guarding them, and more of her household guards scattered around. "Your Grace." "Naruto, thank you for coming. Please take a seat," Marjorie said, and he sat at the food-filled table. One of the handmaidens approached, carrying a jug of wine. "Would you like to have some wine?" "No, just water, please," Naruto responded, and a handmaiden went up to pour some into a glass for him. "Thank you."
"I should be thanking you because you not only saved my brother, but from what I hear you've kept yourself quite busy in the city," Marjorie replied. "I heard you attacked a group of Lannister soldiers, is that correct?" "I did, but don't worry, it wasn't with malice. Cersei ordered those men to bring me to her on her orders, but unfortunately for her and her men, she had two misconceptions about me. One, I'm not from Westeros, so I don't call her queen, and two, they didn't ask nicely," Naruto said. Marjorie reminded out, "Yet you came when I sent men to find you." "Your men asked nicely, and I don't trust Cersei. I know what she's done and the kind of person she is." "Another of my many gifts," Naruto responded before sipping water and munching a grape. "Which I imagine is why you asked me to come see you." "It is. Seeing what you did with our eyes is one thing, but you've been very busy in the city. The Sparrows are no longer causing disturbances, and rumors have spread of a strange man helping anyone who needs it," Marjorie said, and Naruto nodded. "That's true, but it wasn't the highlight of my day. The cities I'm from don't smell as bad or have piles of shit marinating in the corners of the city." Naruto shivered in disgust at that memory. "But it was worthwhile. Every little bit helps, and as I previously stated, I believe in doing the right thing." Naruto's every word was meaningful to Marjorie and Loras. He was unusual. Except for Sansa, they had never encountered anyone with such a pure heart and honorable aspirations as him. Marjorie said, not intending to insult him, "You are a strange man." "That I've heard before and will likely hear a lot more of in the future. I'll admit that by Westerosi standards I'm strange, but back home, I'm only slightly odd, but I'm gifted and skilled in ways that people here aren't, and that is a story you would find most interesting," Naruto said, and Marjorie leaned in with interest. He spent the following hour going into more of his Game of Thrones biography. He had memorized what he was going to say after his chats with Daenerys. Of course, Marjorie and Loras had questions, and he gave them the identical answers he provided to Daenerys. They, like her, had no method of verifying anything, so they had to take him at his word, but his powers made them quick believers. He performed a few more examples of his abilities, such as creating lightning and speeding around the area, which alarmed the guards but convinced Marjorie. They were perplexed as to why he was appearing now rather than during the War of the Five Kings. And, as he told Daenerys, half of that time was spent training and the other half was spent in a coma before he came. He also claimed that the visions he had revealed the pasts of the people in Westeros, which influenced who he assisted and why. That's why he was assisting House Tyrell rather than House Lannister. Even though Tommen was the king, Naruto stated that his loyalty was to the people, not the king. That concept took Marjorie and Loras by surprise. And that's my story. Naruto completed his cup of water, as well as many slices of bread, vegetables, a roast chicken, a few sausages, and other delicacies. It aided his metabolism, as did the 2 speedster energy bars he had just consumed. Feel free to tell the king, but that's my truth. And you won't change your mind about meeting him? Marjorie inquired,
receiving a headshake in answer. With all due respect, I don't have a mind for politics and don't want the headaches that come with it. I prefer actions over words, Naruto replied. And the more incidents that keep me away from Cersei, the better. You don't like her all that much, do you? Loras inquired. I don't. You probably already know this, but I've seen her past.
She's nothing more than a spoiled princess whose feeble attempts at holding onto power include a lot of bodies. She's the epitome of someone who can't let something go. Naruto responded. It's why she's coming after House Tyrell, because she knows she's lost all the power she once had and is willing to do whatever it takes to keep it, so much so that she struck a deal with the High Sparrow to bring back the Faith Militant and would have used them to go after you both if I hadn't intervened. Loras would have been arrested and on trial for his relationship with Renly if I hadn't intervened. What? Loras questioned, surprised. I'm sorry Loras, but if I hadn't intervened, you would have been arrested for violating the Faith of the Seven's rules against laying with men, which is just bigotry, and at your holy inquest Marjorie would have lied to protect you. Unfortunately, Cersei planned ahead and had Olivar testify. Loras is arrested, as are you Marjorie, and Cersei wins. Naruto informed them.
They can't arrest Marjorie because she's the queen, Loras said. Which means absolutely nothing to the High Sparrow. I've spoken with him, and he doesn't care if you're lowborn or royalty.
As he put it, in the Faith of the Seven, all are equal, Naruto remarked. He's not someone who can be bought or bargained with, so don't even think you can manipulate him like any other man. He is so absolute in his belief that nothing else matters. Fanatics are often the most dangerous, and Cersei gave him all the powers he needs. It's only because of my intervention that he hasn't struck out again, though I'm not sure how much longer that will last.
I've already sent word to my grandmother for more assistance. Thank you again for what you've done, but... How will things end here? Did your visions show anything else? Marjorie pondered, and Naruto shrugged.
No, my intervention has changed events that should have happened in the past, so what happens now? I can't say for sure. The best I can do is help prepare you for what's to come because Cersei will not take this lying down. Naruto warned her.
What are you suggesting? She asked as he sipped another sip of water. House Tyrell has made it this far through smart planning. With Tywin Lannister gone, your grandmother is likely the wisest player in the game, but you've always stuck with subtle or defensive approaches.
It's time to go on the offensive, and there is one thing from my visions that I believe can help you. Naruto began to tell her of one of his favorite moments from Season 5, when Cersei was arrested by the High Sparrow for incest and the murder of King Robert. Naruto was going to offer House Tyrell the ammunition to take down Cersei, just as Littlefinger had given Cersei the ammunition to take down House Tyrell. They talked for another hour, with Naruto providing Marjorie and Loras with all the information they could possibly require. He suspected that despite Marjorie's best efforts to make his visit a secret, word had gotten back to Cersei, which meant she'd be on her way soon. Good, because Naruto wanted to talk to her, if only to scare her. Are you certain about this? Marjorie said as she and Loras rose to their feet and their house guard joined them. I'm certain. I'd like to speak with her, and I have plenty to say, Naruto told her before looking down at the distress beacon he had given her. If something went wrong, he'd know to come back, just like he did with Daenerys. Take care, Lady Marjorie. I promise we'll talk again. Thank you, Naruto, and I hope you find Sansa well. She's been through a lot, Marjorie remarked, standing up to bow as well. Loras approached him and shook his hand. Loras cautioned him, be careful. Same to you. Always keep your sword with you, Naruto said, and Loras nodded before the two siblings exited, their house guard and servants following. Before leaving, one of the soldiers returned Naruto's sword and backpack. Naruto sat back down at the table, relishing the extra food that the servants had brought him. He cut a slice of bread in half and sandwiched a boar sausage in between to make a hot dog. It worked, however he was lacking relish and sauerkraut but luckily had mustard. One of the maids had offered him a sack to take some of the extra food that he had wrapped in linen or napkins. That's then he heard the booming boots and shuffle of metal armor, and 4 dozen armored Lannister men, together with 2 Kingsguard members, stepped inside the small garden pavilion. When he heard the clack of heels, Naruto ignored them and went about his routine of eating and storing the food. He continued to ignore her until Cersei walked around to the other end of the table. It's common knowledge and proper etiquette to stand in front of royalty, Cersei explained. Naruto could detect signs of the self-assured superiority, self-centeredness, and spoiled princess she was just by hearing her talk,
Tywin had a terrible job parenting his children, with the exception of Tyrion, though after what happened when his hand was severed, Naruto began to like Jaime as well. Very true, and if I were in the presence of royalty, I would stand, but I'm not. Naruto pointed out, and one of the Lannister soldiers unsheathed his sword. Take another step, and that sword goes up your ass. Cersei urged him to take a step back after Naruto's admonition. People should know better than to speak to me in that manner, Cersei said. That's because people are afraid of you. Just look at my face, Naruto explained. Do I appear scared? No, you don't. You're obviously smart and well trained to know I'd come here, but you haven't left or taken the offensive, which means you know you're surrounded and can't escape, Cersei pointed out, and Naruto grinned. Did I say something funny?
Not exactly. What I find amusing is your inflated ego and sense of self-worth. You really think you're smarter than you really are, which you are not. Naruto corrected her. I'm only still here because I wanted to see you with my own two eyes, to look in the face of the woman who has caused so much death and destruction yet still believes she deserves to be queen, and I wanted to see what you would do when you met me.
Cersei took a deep breath and smiled as best she could. I've heard you've been keeping busy in King's Landing, attacking the faith militant while also assisting those in need. Attacking the faith is the same as attacking the crown, and that is an offense that cannot be overlooked. Which would scare me if I were a citizen of this realm, which I am not, and I'm not afraid of some spineless religious fanatics you put in power, Naruto explained.
No, you're clearly not scared, but well trained. You've got the voice of the people despite only being here for a short time, and from what I've heard, some rather unique gifts. She offered. Oh, there you have it. You want me on your side, don't you? Naruto observed. All right, I'll listen to you out, and what do you have to offer if I decide to work for you? Anything you want. House Lannister's influence is vast and powerful. My son is the king, so any position in court can be yours should you request it. Wealth beyond your imagination, along with the benefits of associating with House Lannister. Cersei said, and Naruto couldn't help but laugh.
Oh, that was good, Naruto said as he brushed away a phony tear.
But I'm afraid I'm going to have to say no because you have nothing to offer. You have zero influence. House Lannister is a shell of its former self. The king is just a kid, and last I checked House Lannister is borrowing money. What did Tywin tell you? Your last working mine was dry 3 years ago. Any gold you have is being borrowed by House Tyrell or the Iron Bank, so that's a no, and as for the benefits of associating with House Lan. When the House Lannister warriors unsheathed their swords and 10 more men stepped out armed with crossbows, Naruto stood up and completed packing the food to depart. I'm afraid you won't be leaving here at all, Cersei said, while Naruto just laughed. You should have taken my offer, you might still be alive. Naruto looked around and chuckled before turning to face Cersei. When one of the archers launched a crossbow bolt towards Naruto's head, he exclaimed, "You have no idea who you're messing with." Naruto simply grabbed it with one hand, stared at the archer, and shook his finger back and forth. That was my mistake. Naruto flashed with lightning and vanished in the blink of an eye.
What Cersei didn't notice was Naruto moving at breakneck speed and dispatching each of the troops in non-lethal yet painful ways. Broken bones and all, but he dispatched the 60 Lannisters in milliseconds before knocking out the 2 Kingsguard. He then returned to his original location so Cersei could see what had happened. All of her soldiers were knocked out or on the ground in pain, while Naruto stood there unharmed. He instantly unsheathed his sword and thrust it in her direction. Her arrogance vanished, and she was replaced by dread. He held the key to her fate.
This is the second time you've tried to mess with me, and you failed. Try a third time, and I promise you won't like what happens, Naruto said before speeding away, leaving Cersei to wallow in terror of someone she couldn't threaten or terrify. She was the one who was terrified. X-line break. The Arctic Circle. Naruto raced up the Riverlands, past the twins, and then north.
A part of him wanted to tie up Walder Frey, but he'd deal with him later. Although the Freys were handy since Naruto went into their cellar and kitchens and stole a lot of their food.
He grabbed it all and utilized his shrink ray to transport it with him. He intended to present it to Jon as a peace offering. The Night's Watch were not about to turn down food. Before traveling north to see Jon, he wanted to check on Brienne, Podrick, and Sansa. He hoped to speak with him before heading north of the wall to meet with the Wildlings. Let him know that Sansa is fine and that he has a buddy, and if not, place a tracker on him so he can catch up if something goes wrong. Pod arrived at Wintertown with some supplies and entered the inn where he and Brienne were staying. Wintertown was a little town outside of Winterfell where many smallfolk lived. It was the closest Brienne could get to Sansa now that she was back in her ancestral home but under the protection of the Boltons thanks to their secret bargain with Littlefinger. Even though the people of the North had been strong loyalists to the Starks for ages, they were now more scared of the Boltons and kept their heads down to survive.
When Pod entered the chamber, Brienne was leaning against the window, gazing out at Winterfell. She's far from the Lannisters. This is her home, perhaps Lady Sansa is better off here, Pod speculated. Brienne reminded him, better off with the Boltons, who murdered her mother and brother. Sansa is in danger, even if she isn't aware of it.
Knock knock. Pod and Brienne peered towards the door, perplexed. Brienne nodded to Pod, who stepped up and opened the door, revealing Naruto enjoying his homemade hot dog. Naruto said, "Hello, can I come in?" They nodded, and he entered before Pod closed the door. Brienne inquired, "How did you find us here?"
Because I knew you'd be here, Naruto said as he handed Pod the bundle of food he had brought from King's Landing. I apologize if I'm late and you were expecting me earlier. I stopped in King's Landing to get you two some food. Thank you, Pod said as he began organizing the food they had been given. Naruto approached Brienne at the window, where they both gazed out at Winterfell. Don't worry, Brienne. We'll get her out, and your next meeting will go much better than the last.
How can you be so sure? Brienne questioned. Because she won't have Littlefinger in her ear this time. He's gone, likely on his way to King's Landing as he speaks, Naruto explained. He's responding to Cersei's raven and doing what he does best to gain more power. Without him, you have a better chance of convincing Sansa to listen to you. She's not safe there.
Do you know what will happen to her if she stays? Brienne inquired, and Naruto responded with a nod.
It's not pleasant. Baelish is intelligent, but Ramsay Bolton is someone even he can't manipulate or predict. Sansa is in danger, Naruto informed them. The sooner we can get her to trust you, the better. Do you have a plan for that? Brienne inquired, and Naruto responded with a nod.
I do, but before I go talk to her, we should talk about exactly what you plan to do with her if it works, Naruto said. Winterfell is her home, to be sure, but she's alone now. The Boltons rule the north, and she can't go back down south with Cersei still around. She needs someplace safe.
Her family ruled for generations for the north, and even with the Boltons holding Winterfell, there are those who will gladly come to her aid and provide her asylum, Brienne reminded out, which made Naruto recall something about the other Stark siblings. The Wilding Osha led the youngest Stark Rickon to Last Hearth, the seat of House Umber. While Bran moved north, the two and Shaggy Dog would still be there.
I'm a complete idiot and forget him. Naruto smacked his forehead, drawing puzzled looks from the others. Sansa has a younger brother, Rickon, who is still in the north.
Pod informed him, Rickon Stark is dead. He and Bran Stark were burned alive by Theon Greyjoy. No, that was a lie. Bran and Rickon fled Winterfell before it was burned down, and Rickon is at Last Hearth with House Umber, Naruto explained. What about Bran? Brienne wondered. He was taken north of the Wall. His destiny is similar to mine and beyond our grasp. It's a long story, but Rickon is still alive, Naruto explained. Which means we still have another Stark to save.
What do you mean? Brienne asked. If Rickon is safe at Last Hearth, then we just need to get Sansa there as well. The Umbers are loyal bannermen of the Starks, they'll be safe there. Not with the Boltons out there. They've got the men with the Karstarks on their side, and their cruelty knows no bounds.
All it would take is one weak-willed or scared person, and then the Boltons know where they are. It's a risk, and if word does get out, then Stannis could try to use them as leverage to take control of the north, and the last thing we need is him and that red woman burning people alive, Naruto pointed out. The Boltons were now the dominant power, and with Stannis on the horizon, they didn't have many choices. So, what's the plan? Brienne inquired, as Naruto considered his options. Sansa and Rickon needed to be safe and away from others, at a location where no one could find them, to plot their next move. Naruto had one idea, and he knew how to make it work.
I've got an idea, but first we need to talk to Sansa. I'll be right back, Naruto said as he rushed away to Winterfell. Sansa was back in her old room at Winterfell, but it didn't feel the same. She had evolved a lot since she was a little girl who fantasized about meeting the knights and queens of the stories her grandmother told her, but the reality wasn't what she had hoped for. She was now alone, with her parents and siblings all dead except for Jon at the wall. The last time she saw him was when they were leaving for King's Landing and he went to join the Night's Watch. She was rude to him just because he was a jerk and her mother despised him. But now, she'd do anything to get things back to the way they were. She felt a blast of wind brush past her, blowing out a candle, before hearing a tap on her door, which she opened to reveal a bizarrely clothed man with spiky blonde hair. "I apologize for disturbing you, Lady Sansa, but you're in danger and I needed to speak with you," Naruto said as he entered the room and shut the door behind her. "Who are you?" Sansa inquired. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and I'm not with the Lannisters or the Boltons. I'm here to help you, because you're in danger and not safe here," Naruto cautioned. "I know how you got here, but Littlefinger can't be trusted and is only using you for his own purposes." "I'm not sure what you're talking about," Sansa said, so Naruto tapped a button on his watch, causing a hologram to materialize. It was a queued-up recording from Season 5 Episode 6. He could have shown her on his phone, but having it projected holographically from his watch made it more magical.
Sansa was perplexed by what was going on until she noticed the magical vision of Littlefinger speaking with Cersei in King's Landing.
Sansa knew he went to King's Landing because Cersei summoned him, but he said he went to defend her.
Instead, she was now witnessing Littlefinger sell her out to Cersei, telling her that she was in the north with the Boltons and would marry Ramsay Bolton. Littlefinger then informed Cersei that Stannis was heading down to face the Boltons, and being the expert manipulator and schemer that he is, he offered the services of the Knights of the Vale to kill the victor in exchange for being elected Warden of the North. "No, I'm sorry, Sansa," Naruto said, "but it's true, you have no reason to believe me, but Littlefinger can't be trusted." "Who are you?" Sansa inquired, so he began explaining himself and his powers to her. He utilized details about Sansa's ordeal and adventures to persuade her that he was telling the truth. Things like Arya's sheep-shift trick on her or what happened with Joffrey at the Ruby Ford. His expertise appeared to open her mind to the possibility of his talents, but to emphasize the point, he vibrated his hand and began creating lightning to demonstrate he was telling the truth. "How?"
"I'm not from around here, but I promise I'm here to help. I came to warn you about the Boltons and Littlefinger. Neither can be trusted. Don't believe what Littlefinger says about controlling Ramsay or that your place is here. The only person that man cares about is himself, and he's betrayed your mother and father to get to where he is now."
Naruto pressed his watch and showed her a moment from Season 1 where Ned Stark was arrested for trying to arrest Joffrey.
The City Watch killed his men, and then Baelish stuck a dagger to his throat, mocking him with his reminder not to trust him. He then showed her a scene from Season 2 in which Littlefinger spoke to Catelyn in Renly's camp and used false promises to mislead her into releasing Jaime. That event and manipulation caused a schism between Robb and his mother, ultimately leading to both of their demise. He next displayed a scene from Season 5 in which Roose Bolton expressed doubts about Baelish's loyalty and vice versa.
"What are you doing here?" Sansa inquired. "I came to warn you and get you out of here before Ramsay can hurt you. He and his father are insane and can't be trusted, but someone else can." Naruto then showed her the scene in which Brienne made a vow to her mother after they escaped Renly's camp, promising to bring her daughters back. "Brienne is trustworthy, and she can keep you and your brother safe."
"What are you talking about? My brothers are all dead," Sansa responded.
"Not all of them. Bran and Rickon are alive. Rickon's at last Hearth in hiding. Theon didn't kill them. They escaped Winterfell and he burned 2 boys from a farm and told everyone it was them." Naruto then showed her that scene from Season 2 and could see the relief in Sansa's eyes as she realized her brothers were still alive. When he heard footsteps nearby, he quickly hugged the wall behind the door as a Bolton servant approached.
"Is there something wrong, my lady?" asked the servant.
"No." Sansa cast a glance towards Naruto and decided not to tell the servant he was there. "Nothing is wrong. I was simply moving some furniture."
The servant nodded and shut the door, enabling Naruto to breathe a sigh of relief. "That was close," Naruto said as Sansa approached and gripped his shoulders. "Are you telling the truth? Can you help me?" she inquired as he took her hands in his.
"I swear on my life I can help you," Naruto said as he handed her a location beacon. "Keep this with you at all times, but keep it hidden. When you're ready to leave, press it, and I'll be right back."
"Where are you going?" Sansa inquired. "To make sure the location Brienne will take you to is safe, hidden, and well stocked. With the Boltons around, it's too dangerous to be discovered, and with Stannis marching down from the wall, We need to make sure you avoid his clutches. Despite what Littlefinger told you about Stannis, he's dangerous, and with the Red Woman in his ear, he could use you as a sacrifice. I'm not gonna let that happen. Why are you assisting me? Sansa said, and Naruto gave her an honest look.
Because it's the right thing to do. I know your childhood stories were filled with honorable knights and the reality was nothing like that, but it's fair to say I'm the exception. Naruto hugged her briefly before strolling over to the window, where he saw plenty of opportunity to create some havoc. He returned Sansa's gaze with a reassuring grin. I'll be right back. He flashed with lightning and vanished in an instant.
Sansa dashed to the window to watch a flash of scarlet and white lightning rip through the castle, causing havoc. Horses were led out of their stalls, Bolton soldiers were thrown around by someone moving extremely quickly, little fires were sparked in the forge or armories, and there was general mayhem.
Naruto ran around Winterfell, causing more havoc, before sneaking into the kitchen and cellars to take some more of the Bolton's food. He then spoke with Brienne and Pod, telling them to get a wagon or cart and a horse for travel before leaving and vowing to return when Sansa needed him. He had a few things to attend to.
XXXXX line break the Black Castle. Naruto was walking through the snow when he noticed the gates of Castle Black in the distance. He determined that a discreet approach to talking to Jon was required so that he did not terrify anyone. He tightened his jacket and zipped it up over his impulse suit, which he was wearing underneath.
Naruto chose to wear his impulse suit underneath his usual clothes for extra warmth and only kept his cowl and mask down after he arrived in the north and understood how cold it was going to be. The suit's tripolymer Kevlar weave material not only provided outstanding protection but also regulated his body temperature, keeping him from becoming excessively hot or cold while running and preventing excessive sweating. His suit would save him from freezing to death, but it would make him look even odder, so he wore it underneath his ordinary attire for extra warmth.
He finished 5 speedster energy bars, which reset his metabolism and provided him some extra energy. He approached the gate and pounded on the massive gate's little door. A little slit appeared, and Naruto recognized the face as that of Dolorous Ed, a Night's Watch brother and friend of Jon and Sam.
What are you doing at Castle Black? Ed inquired.
I need to talk to Jon Snow. Isn't he now Lord Commander of the Night's Watch? Naruto inquired, and Ed nodded slightly. I'm here to help. Do you want to join the Night's Watch? Ed inquired. No, but I need to talk to him. You may tell him it's about the real threat beyond the wall, which isn't the White Walkers. Naruto stated, which assuaged Ed's suspicions. He asked Naruto to wait while he went to visit Jon. He sat against the gate for what seemed like 15 minutes and flung some pebbles at a nearby boulder. That's when he heard some latches clang and a metal key turn before the door opened and Ed went out. Come along with me. Ed instructed him, and Naruto nodded and rose to join him.
When they walked through the gate into the Castle Black courtyard, it looked just like it did on the show, although it was considerably more open than it showed on film.
He noticed some of the Night's Watch going about their business, as well as some of Stannis' men building wagons and carts for their journey. His arrival and general appearance led many people to stare at him strangely, which was to be expected at this stage. That's when he noticed Jon standing on one of the building's balconies before walking down the stairs. He looked just like Kit Harington on the show, right down to the hair and beard, just like everyone else on the planet.
He noticed Longclaw connected to his waist in the same type of gear and cloak. Watching him walk over made Naruto realize how tall Jon was in comparison to him. It wasn't really noticeable on the show, but he was only approximately 5 feet 8 tall, which made sense given that Kit Harington was the same height. Naruto was several inches taller than him, which was strange, but he quickly snapped out of it as Jon came over. Ed told me that you needed to see me. Jon inquired. He did, and so do I. I know this sounds strange and unconventional, but I've been sent here to help, not against the Wildlings, but against the White Walkers. Naruto informed him. Jon and Ed exchanged glances as this stranger announced that he was here to assist them in their struggle against the White Walkers, whom everyone dismissed as the stuff of legends. Except for the Night's Watch, no one believed in them, and only a few survived Commander Mormont's journey north.
How much do you know about the White Walkers? Jon inquired. I know the gravity of the threat they pose and what they are capable of, because the gods showed me, Naruto declared, which only drew confused looks from the guys surrounding, but his declaration did garner some attention from some of Stannis' men, with one running to notify him. The gods showed you? Even with everything he's seen, Ed thought that was ludicrous.
Let me show you what they showed me. Naruto tapped a button on his watch, causing a holographic projection of a scene from Season 4. The encounter with the White Walkers, as well as the Night King's use of his powers to transform Craster's kid into a White Walker. His unexpected holographic display drew everyone's attention, as did what he displayed. He then showed them a modified version of the Season 2 finale, in which the White Walker rode a horse with an army of whites behind him. "How did you manage to do that?" John inquired. "That's quite a long story." Naruto began going over his modified origin narrative once more, hoping it would be the last time he had to do it because it was becoming tedious at this point. "That's quite a tale," Ed made a remark, and it was quite. John was at a loss for words after witnessing what he had just witnessed. "Unusual, but why now? Why have you come now, when you've possessed these abilities for so long?"
There's an old saying in my family that you have to learn to walk before you can run. Just because someone gives you a weapon and shield doesn't imply you can walk out and take down a gang of robbers on your own. Naruto stated with tremendous knowledge and maturity what he had learned from previous experiences. Just because I was given these abilities didn't mean I was prepared to come help. If I had just come right away, I would have done more harm than good. I'm not blaming anyone, but a little earlier would have been nice. Ed brought this up. "I know, but I'm here now and ready to help." Naruto made his oath to John. "Believe it or not, I've been helping you even before I got here."
"How?" John inquired, so Naruto grabbed something from his pocket and dropped it on the ground, but Ed and John saw nothing. Naruto grabbed his shrink ray from his bag, which received even more strange eyes, before firing the red Pym particle beam, which enlarged the item he shot. The item in question was 12 sacks of food he took from the King's Landing kitchen. "I hope this helps you with your food supplies," Naruto muttered as Ed opened one of the sacks to reveal hams and fresh cheese.
"It certainly does." As several other Night's Watch brethren walked over to check what food they had, Ed made a remark. "And the other is a more personal one that is best discussed in private." Naruto addressed John, who nodded. "Where did this come from? They might hear and see S or Davos walk over." "King's Landing courtesy. I might have gotten some of their extra meals," Naruto responded. "That could be considering stealing." S or Davos made the observation. "And wouldn't smugglers be considered thieves as well?" Naruto inquired. "Or do pirates and smugglers simply transport stolen goods from one location to another?"
Sir Davos laughed at the joke. "All okay, Davos Seaworth, sir." He extended his hand, and Naruto shook it.
Naruto. Regardless of who he served or where he would finish up, Naruto admired S or Davos.
Naruto. Name is intriguing. I beg your pardon, but I've never seen someone who looks or dresses like you anywhere in Westeros or Essos. Sir Davos made a remark.
"And you'd be right, because I'm not from either." To his surprise, Naruto informed him. "You're a great sailor, S or Davos, but I doubt any ship can carry enough food and water to travel far enough west to my homeland." "Really? So, how did you end yourself here?" S or Davos was perplexed. "I ran." Naruto half joked, and S or Davos laughed at the ridiculous concept. "What's going on here?" When they heard, Stannis Baratheon approached, accompanied by Melisandre. S or Davos and John both rose up straight and bowed, while Naruto simply stood there and ignored him. "Who exactly is this?" "Your Grace, I am a visitor to Castle Black." As Stannis glanced at Naruto, John told him. "It is customary to kneel and introduce yourself to the king," Stannis addressed him. "True, but I'm not your subject, and you aren't my king," Naruto simply stated to him, and his declaration drew everyone's attention. Nobody would ever dream of approaching the king in that manner. "I could have killed you for saying such things," Stannis warned him as many of his soldiers drew their swords.
"I've dealt with much scarier and worse people than you, Stannis, so don't think you can intimidate me," Naruto retorted. "You may have saved the Night's Watch from the Wilding army and fought against the Lannisters, but that doesn't make you a rightful heir to the throne. If anything, your behaviors demonstrate that you don't." "Easy, Naruto." Sir Davos and John both attempted to de-escalate the situation before it became out of hand. "Let's not have things get out of hand," Sir Davos chimed in. "Naruto, you're not from here, so you might not realize it, but Lord Stannis is the rightful heir to the Iron Thrones. He's a difficult man, yet all he cares about is what's best for the Seven Kingdoms."
"As long as he's the one in charge?" Naruto inquired. "He is the one and only true king. He has a bloodline connection to the throne. The North will suffer as long as the Boltons rule it, and the entire kingdom will suffer as long as the Lannisters rule the throne. If you've ever been to King's Landing, you know how awful the Lannisters are. Davos addressed Naruto. You're correct. I was in King's Landing and witnessed the devastation. That's why I went down there and tried to help folks. And the Lannisters are an issue, but frankly, Stannis isn't a better option, and we both know why. Naruto pointed at Melisandre, who simply smirked. I'm sorry, but I don't support human sacrifice or burning people alive. The deaths of those people served a purpose for the Lord of Light. King Stannis, the Lord of Light's champion, was born of salt and smoke. Only he can protect the realm from impending calamities. Melisandre stated this. And how many innocent people will he have killed in the name of your demon to accomplish this? Naruto inquired. Watch what you say to Lady Melisandre. Insulting her is an affront to the throne. Naruto was cautioned by Stannis. Alright, then I'll just do both. I've seen what she's capable of, but if she's praying to a god, it's not a benevolent one, and I genuinely hope it's one who takes you down to hell for what you've done. Ser Davos wanted to intercede after Naruto told him, but Naruto held up his hand to prevent him from speaking. And I'm not talking about how uncaring, stiff, or jerk you are. I'm referring to your actions leading up to this point. I know what happened to your brother, and I'm not referring to Robert. I know you murdered Renly.
Naruto's revelation heightened the tension in the courtyard, as everyone was now watching and listening. Sir Davos tried his best to appear normal, but he couldn't help but feel guilty about the role he played in the performance. Stannis and Melisandre had the stone-faced expressions you'd expect from sociopaths. The Lord of Light's will is strong, and his enemies' fates were sealed the moment they took up arms against the prince that was promised. Melisandre stated this. I've heard the rumors, but Brienne of Tarth murdered my brother, Renly, and I won't even entertain the rumors that insult my honor. Stannis informed him.
You have no honor, and we know this to be true. Brienne did not murder Renly. You had Melisandre do it after that night on Dragonstone's painted table. Naruto recalled how Stannis, Ser Davos, and Melisandre all looked surprised when he stated it. That's right, I saw what happened, so I know what happened. A part of me assumed you just wanted to have sex and didn't think anything of it, but then I watched what happened. Ser Davos' surprise when he saw what came out after you urged him to utilize his smuggling abilities to sneak Melisandre into a concealed cave beneath Renly's encampment.
That smoke monster with your face may have inherited all of your flaws. I expected you to express regret for what you did, but you killed your younger brother and carried on as if nothing had happened. Sir Davos stated that you were never one to hide the truth unless it was for your own profit, and any honor you once held is long gone. I'm certain that if Ned Stark had known what you would do to gain the throne, he would never have vouched for you. As some of Stannis' soldiers grabbed their swords, he ordered, seize him.
You could try, but then again, am I right here? Naruto questioned, standing there and grinning at Stannis.
Or am I here? They asked, noticing Naruto standing against the balcony railing nearby. Or here, they said, turning around to see Naruto resting against the front gate. Then another Naruto arrived in the courtyard, followed by another, and another, until there were 20 Narutos standing around with the same shite-eating grin. Several of Stannis' men readied their swords, only to disappear. The Naruto speed mirages vanished, and he returned to his original location, holding the soldiers' swords, which he vibrated until they shattered in half. It's a trick, Stannis said, only for Naruto's eyes to begin flickering with lightning, and soon enough, more and more lightning encircled his body, sending everyone fleeing in terror. The heat from his lightning melted the snow surrounding his feet, so Naruto decided to make a greater gesture by launching a lightning bolt into the sky, resulting in a huge thunderclap.
You were saying? Naruto maintained his shit-eating grin, but Stannis and Melisandre wore fearful expressions.
Jon, Ed, Sir Davos, and everyone else were in awe of what they had just witnessed. In the blink of an eye, Naruto unsheathed his sword and held it right at Melisandre's neck. I know just how bad you really are. You may think you're the best thing for this world, but if you had your way, all you'd do is spread misery, fear, and death wherever you go. If I were a different man, I'd kill you right here, but luckily for you, I don't kill. I know enough to know that you and Stannis will build your own end. I just hope I'm there to see it. Sir Davos inquired, How did you do this? A lightning bolt from the sky transformed me, and the gods granted me insight into people, It's how I know so much and who to trust and who not to trust, Naruto explained. I've been working to help the people of Westeros, and I don't do it by burning people at the stake. Say what you want, Stannis, but we both know the kind of man you are. Stannis only threw him one last glare before leaving, and Melisandre followed quickly, mostly out of dread. Naruto cast a piercing eye around the courtyard, and Stannis' soldiers fled as quickly as they could. Sir Davos went to follow, but Naruto stopped him with a warning. You follow Stannis because of the man he once was, Sir Davos, but I'd urge you caution in the days ahead, and I'd keep an eye on Shireen, especially when it comes to Lady Melisandre, Naruto said.
Sir Davos inquired, what have you seen? Enough that worries me. Be careful, Naruto said, and Sir Davos gave him a tiny nod before leaving. He then turned to look at Jon. Can we speak in private?
Jon gave Naruto a nod and escorted him to his office. Everyone gave them a wide berth as they walked out of fear and respect. Naruto and Ollie entered Jon's office together. What did you want to say? Jon inquired, but he remained silent and nodded to Ollie waiting at the door. Ollie is my steward, just as I was Commander Mormont's, and I'm teaching him so that he can lead one day. That's fine, but what I have to tell you is best said privately, and it's only meant for you, Naruto continued, as Jon reluctantly sent Ollie out. Naruto waited a few moments after the door closed until the shadow beneath it vanished and the footsteps faded out. I apologize for that, but the information is personal, it concerns your family. What? Jon inquired. I know Sam said Bran is still alive, and he is. I've seen him in the visions I told you about, and he's safe up in the north with Hodor and Mira Reed. Now I don't exactly know what his purpose up there is, only that it's important, but he is alive. Naruto said. What? Jon was perplexed, so Naruto began explaining everything that had happened to them, using holographic visuals and playbacks of previous episodes to assist him. Rickon was with Osha and Shaggy Dog at Last Hearth when Bran traveled north of the Wall, Arya journeyed east to Braavos to train with the Faceless Men, and Littlefinger's manipulations resulted in Sansa returning to Winterfell with the Boltons. She hasn't been hurt yet, but the longer Sansa stays there, the more dangerous she'll be. I'll get her and Rickon somewhere safe, Naruto assured, perplexing Jon. Rickon is at Last Hearth, but I've seen how ruthless the Boltons can be. All it takes is someone being scared enough to turn in Rickon, and the Boltons want him dead to keep their claim to Winterfell. He and Sansa aren't safe until the Boltons are dealt with, and you can't tell Stannis either. Why not? Jon inquired. If Rickon is still alive, he may be able to rally the Northern Lords to assist Stannis in defeating the Boltons and retaking Winterfell. If you truly believed he had a chance, you would have accepted his offer, Naruto pointed out, and Jon was surprised. Stannis is a burning candle down to its last wick, and the lengths he'll go to get what he wants cannot be overstated. He killed his own brother to get his army, and I don't want to imagine what he'd do if he got Sansa or Rickon. I wasn't lying before.
Naruto then showed Jon the video of Renly's death and the shadow demon responsible. 7 hells, murmured Jon.
Now you understand why I acted the way I did, and his death wasn't the first. He's murdered plenty of people the Red Woman refers to as infidels or non-believers, and he's not good for the 7 kingdoms, Naruto said. And the Lannisters are? Jon inquired. No, but one problem at a time. Making sure Rickon and Sansa are kept safe where no one can find them is important. Most people think Rickon is dead, so that helps, and I can get him and Sansa someplace safe. Naruto stepped over to Jon's desk and pointed to the wall. There are many abandoned fortresses or castles along the wall. I can refortify and restock one of them to serve as a safe haven while someone keeps an eye on them.
Why are you doing this? Jon questioned. You could easily tell Cersei where Sansa is or give her to the Lannisters and get rich, so why help them?
Naruto opened his behind and brought out a gold coin pouch. I don't need money because, believe it or not, I'm like you. My father raised me to do the right thing even when others won't, and your family has been through enough, so anything I can do to help them now is better in the long run, including assisting you in preparing for what's coming.
Jon inquired, how much time do we have? Not long, and I know what you're going to do. Talk to Tormund Giantsbane about getting the wildlings south of the wall, Naruto said to Jon's surprise. I've seen glimpses of the future, and you're correct. You'll need their help to fight, and it also means fewer whites to fight.
But my plan, it'll split the Night's Watch. Half the men will despise me the moment I give the order, Jon explained. Don't half of them already hate you? Naruto asked. Don't give a damn what other people think, just do what you know is best and find the courage and strength to get it done regardless. I know we just met, but I swear I'm here to help if you'll have me. Naruto extended his hand, and John paused for a time before shaking his hand. I'd be a fool not to accept your assistance when I need it.
I suppose you do know something, Jon Snow, Naruto remarked. Think about it some more, and I recommend seeking the counsel of someone wise. In fact, can you direct me to Maester Aemon? I have something for him. Jon led him to the library, where they found Sam sitting at a table with the elderly Maester. Sam introduced himself as Jon. Maester Aemon greeted him as Lord Commander. I heard another set of footsteps. Who did you bring?
Jon said, a guest. Maester Aemon inquired, a guest? Here at Castle Black, whom do we have the honor of welcoming into our humble abode?
Naruto addressed himself as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. My name won't ring a bell because I'm not from Westeros, but I've come to help the Night's Watch. Your Lord Commander and I just finished speaking, and I came because I have something for you. For me? What could you possibly have for an old man? Maester Aemon questioned, so Naruto came up and took a sealed letter from his backpack, which he handed to Sam. Sam quickly saw the three-headed dragon symbol of House Targaryen on the sealed wax. Sam questioned, House Targaryen? Naruto nodded.
I went to Marine to see if the Mother of Dragons was worth following or if she had unfortunately followed in her father's footsteps, and I'm glad to say it was the former. Naruto comforted them both as Sam opened the letter and read it to the old blind maester. Aemon Targaryen, I hope you are in excellent health and spirits as I write this letter. When I found out you were still alive in Castle Black with the Night's Watch, I wasn't sure what to write. Naruto, the man who sent this letter informed me that you were still alive. I'm aware of the vows the Night's Watch men must take, but I wish we could have met.
For a long time, I was only given stories about our family by my brother, and then by my advisors and close friends. I wish I had known other members of my family, and I realize we may never meet, but I wish I had. I'm aware of the history our family has been branded with these years, and I've wished for so long for someone to guide me, but knowing how alone you were, I wish I could have been there to help you.
Though our paths may never cross, I know you were someone I had aspired to meet for a long time. My only hope is that I can make amends for past sins and genuinely be the queen the Seven Kingdoms requires. I'm grateful to those who believe in me, and it warms my heart to know that there is another Targaryen out there who has found the strength to persevere after all these years. I'm hoping to find the same strength you have.
Your adoring granddaughter, House Targaryen's Daenerys.
When Sam finished reading the letter, he, Jon, and Naruto noticed the old guy was crying. Hearing that letter meant everything to him right now. All alone, wondering about what was going on with her, he had found some peace of mind in his last years, which he would never forget. He'd carry it with him to his grave and die an old man at peace. Peace of mind and knowing that his grandniece loved him.
Maester Aemon extended his hand, so Naruto approached and took it. The old maester sniffled a little as he clutched Naruto with both hands. Thank you. You've brought some peace to this old dying man in his final days. Thank you.
Naruto smiled and took his hands in his. There's no need for thanks. I was happy to deliver the message. And I've met her. She is every bit the strong, beautiful, and kind woman you think she is. Naruto assured him, and Maester Aemon sniffled a little before kissing his hand.
Jon let Maester Aemon enjoy the lovely performance while Sam wiped away a tear. He deserved it more than anyone else. Before stepping to the door, Naruto delicately placed the old man's hands back on his lap. Sam soon joined him, allowing Jon to meet with Maester Aemon alone. What you did for him was very nice, Sam said to him. He's an old man who's seen a lot. If I could bring him some comfort before his end, I'd be more than happy to do it again, Naruto replied, and Sam smiled. Nice to meet you, Sam. Sam shook his hand and said, pleasure to meet you. So, what else brings you to Castle Black? Assisting the Night's Watch in their fight against the White Walkers, Naruto explained, and he began detailing why he was here and what he could accomplish while Jon chatted with Maester Aemon. They gave the identical kill the boy speech as in the program, and then Jon summoned Tormund to his office to speak with him. The only variation from the show was that Naruto was also present. Where are the rest of the free folk now? Where have they gone? Who leads them? Tormund inquired. They followed Mance, and they will not follow anyone else, Tormund explained. What about you? Jon inquired, Hard to lead when you're chained, Tormund said, holding up his hand to demonstrate the iron shackles and chains that bound him. What if I unchained you? Jon speculated. Tormund inquired, why would you do that? Because you are not my adversary, and I am not yours, Jon replied. Tormund reminded him, you sure seem like my enemy when you were killing my friends. He did, but he also killed the Thenns, and last I checked, you despise the Thenns, Naruto said as Tormund stared at him. I understand the wildlings' beef with the Night's Watch, but times have changed. The Night's Watch was never formed to fight the wildlings, and the wall was never built to keep you north of the wall. Oh really? Tormund inquired. It wasn't, it was built to keep the White Walkers north, and your ancestors were on the wrong side when that happened, which is why Mance ordered the army to come south, Naruto said as Tormund glanced at Jon. Your crow here talks all fancy and such. Where did you find him? Tormund inquired.
Naruto isn't a Night's Watch member, but he's here to help me, and he's right. Things will be different, Tormund, as I am now Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, Jon explained.
Tormund chuckled. What would you have me do, Lord Commander? I'd have you go north of the wall, gather the remaining free fold wherever they are, and bring them back here. I'll open the gates and let them through, and I'll find them lands to settle south of the wall, Jon said. They won't kneel for you, and I won't either, Tormund responded.
I don't want them to kneel for me, I want them to fight alongside me when the time comes, Jon said.
The day I ask my people to fight the crows, my people will cut my guts from my belly and force me to eat them, Tormund explained.
And how many of your people can't fight? The women, the children, the elderly, the sick, what happens to them? You're condemning them to death. Worse than death because you're too proud to make peace. Or maybe you're not proud. Maybe you're just a coward, Jon said, and Tormund stood up and looked him in the eyes.
Easy thing to say to a man in chains, Tormund observed, pointing out that all Jon needed was a key to release his chains and shackles. Jon told him, your people need a leader, and they need to get south of the wall before it's too late.
He's right, the Walker's army is moving south every day, and your people are in their way. If we can get them past the wall, it means fewer whites in their army and more people to fight against them, Naruto explained. I know there's a lot of bad blood between the Night's Watch and the Free Folk, but this isn't about past history or a never-ending conflict between you two. It's about survival.
Naruto is correct, and with him on our side, we have a chance, Jon continued.
What makes your blonde spiky-haired fancy talker so important? Tormund pondered, so Naruto began vibrating his body at breakneck speed, causing lightning to flash around. Jon and Tormund stepped back as the lightning flashed throughout the chamber, and they had to hide their eyes from the glare until it ceased. Naruto explained, that's what makes me so important.
Tormund suggested, you might want to lead with that next time. The majority of them are in Hardhome, do you know where that is? I can give you 10 horses and 9 other men, and you can get there in a week, Jon suggested. Tormund informed him, we'll need ships. Jon replied, I'll talk to King Stannis about lending you his fleet.
All right, then, Tormund said, you two are coming with me. You're the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and they need to hear it from you. They need to know the ships they're boarding won't be set ablaze in the middle of the sea. You come with me, or I don't go.
Tormund's condition made perfect sense. If the Wildings were to believe this was true and Jon was someone to look up to, they needed to meet him. Why me? Pondered Naruto. With what you can do, maybe you can scare the rest of them into joining, Tormund suggested. Jon's meeting with the Night's Watch, during which he revealed his plan to bring the free folk across the wall, sparked a furious dispute. The rest of the Night's Watch weren't as accepting as he and Sam were, with some holding bitter grudges against them. Jon's orders were still in place, and he and Tormund would be leading the team north. Stannis' soldiers packed up and left Castle Black a few hours later, heading south, much like in the show.
Shireen was waved away by Sam and Gilly, and Naruto hoped she was safe. He didn't know what had happened to her, so he prayed she was okay. Jon spoke with Stannis and was granted permission to use his ships to travel to Hardhome. As Stannis' army marched away, Naruto rested against a railing. He, like Shireen, wasn't sure how awful things would get once his knowledge of these events caught up with him, but he figured with Stannis, they'd get back. That's when he noticed Jon approaching. Did you get his ships? Naruto inquired.
I did. We'll use them to sail to Hardhome from East Watch, Jon replied, handing Naruto a small device. What's this? Hold on to it. That's how I'll find you, Naruto said.
You're not coming with us? Jon inquired. No, I'm not, but there are some things I need to take care of, so I'm not going with you to Eastwatch. Just keep that on you at all times, and I'll rejoin you before you get to Hardhome, I promise. Naruto swore as his watch beeped and he noticed it was coming from Sansa's locator beacon. I have to leave. Sansa requires my assistance.
Keep an eye out for her, Jon warned, and Naruto agreed. The two exchanged handshakes before Naruto sped out of the area and proceeded south, but not before making one quick stop.
Winterfell. Sansa was dressed warmly and had a little sack holding some extra items. She suspected something was up with the Boltons and pressed the button on the device Naruto had given her to depart. Her door was closed, and she peeked out her window to see the Bolton guys still repairing the damage Naruto had caused. That's when she felt a burst of wind and saw Naruto. You rang? Naruto inquired. You showed up, and a part of me thought it was a sick joke, Sansa admitted. I'm funny and like to joke, but not about this. Are you ready to leave? Naruto said, and she nodded. He extended his hand to her, and she took it before he sped away. Brienne and Pod were waiting for Naruto alongside a little cart connected to a workhorse south of Winter Town. They had everything when a gust of wind swept past them and Naruto and Sansa appeared. Sansa immediately doubled over and vomited. I'm sorry about that, moving at that speed isn't for everyone.
Brienne dashed over with a rag, which she handed to her. Thank you, Sansa said as she noticed Brienne and Pod. You already know Brienne of Tarth and Podrick Payne, Sana, and they're here to keep you safe, Naruto told her. Brienne took a step forward, removing her sword and dropping it on the ground. Lady Sansa, I offer my services once more. I will shield your back, keep your counsel, and give my life for yours if necessary, swearing by the old and new gods.
Sansa nodded as she stared at Naruto. And I swear you'll always have a spot by my hearth, and...
Pod informed her, meat and mead at my table. Meat and mead at my table, and I swear by the old and new gods to ask no service of you that might bring you dishonor, Sansa said, as Brienne rose. Perfect. Now, before we leave the old and get you three somewhere safe, Sansa, I'm going to need your coat. Naruto instructed her, and she was bewildered but did it. Pod then approached her and handed her a new one to put on. Naruto brushed the coat against some nearby trees in the ground before loading it onto the cart drawn by the workhorse. All right, buddy. Start heading south. Naruto patted the horse on the head, and it began slowly trotting along the road, heading south. Why did you do that? Pod questioned.
To throw the Boltons off Sansa's trail. They have hounds, so now they think she'll have to head south and that Littlefinger double-crossed them all the while not knowing where she's actually going. Naruto smiled. Misdirection. Brienne complimented him, saying, very smart. Naruto grinned and said, thank you. Now, as Sansa has discovered, moving as quickly as I do can be overwhelming, so take a deep breath and don't move. They obeyed as Naruto seized Sansa and sprinted north at breakneck speed. He reappeared a few seconds later to perform the same thing with Brienne and then Pod and their provisions bags. Sansa, Brienne, and Pod were all rattled and dizzy from traveling so quickly. Naruto appeared next to them, each holding a bucket, and they all puked into them. I apologize once more, but you can all relax now, you're somewhere safe, Naruto said before collecting the buckets and speeding away to dump them before returning. And where exactly are we? Brienne inquired as they took in their current surroundings. They were standing outside an old fortress, with the wall visible in the distance. We're at the wall. Safest place for Sansa. The free folk aren't an issue. Jon's working with them now. He's got them on his side at the moment. He says hi by the way. Naruto told Sansa as he opened the side door they were near and motioned them to step through before closing it behind them. Jon's here, hoped Sansa. No, he's at Castle Black.
He's the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. I went to see him before you sent for me. I told him and just him about you and how I was going to get you someplace safe.
Naruto led them up the old steps into a big room.
There was some furniture in the room, such as tables and shelves, and there was enough of food for them. There were several cooking pots and such, as well as a massive hot fire in the center that heated the previously very cold area to a reasonable temperature. Castle Black and 2 other castles are the only ones that are manned, which means there are over a dozen that have been abandoned. It wasn't hard to turn this into a place to keep you safe. This is the main area with the kitchen and food, but there are other rooms with beds and I've set up small fires in them to warm them up. There's a whole bunch of firewood already chopped downstairs for you. How did you get all of this done? Sansa said as she walked over to the fire to warm up. I work very quickly. No one knows you're here, so you're safe as can be, but I'd advise keeping the windows closed and avoiding making any unnecessary noise, Naruto said as he stepped up and tossed Brienne an apple from the table. There's plenty for you to eat, courtesy of the fries sellers and kitchens. You stole all of this? Brienne inquired, and Naruto simply shrugged. They had too much, and felt it would be better if it went to people who needed it, Naruto explained. Now, excuse me while I go get Rickon, I'll be right back. Naruto dashed away, leaving Sansa, Brienne, and Pod behind in their new home. While Pod was organizing their provisions, Sansa sat in a chair by the fire. Brienne quickly checked the perimeter to ensure their safety. She discovered the other rooms with the beds Naruto had mentioned. The little section where they were residing was cleaned and warmed, while the remainder of the castle remained untouched for centuries. Brienne returned from her perimeter check, and Pod approached with a cup of wine for Sansa, which she accepted. Thank you, Sansa said, sipping the wine and feeling relieved that she could finally unwind. She was secure. When strong gusts of wind swept by her, she jumped in surprise and spilled her cup. Brienne drew her blade but was stopped by Naruto, a small kid, a big direwolf, and a woman. The boy and woman threw up in the buckets that appeared in their hands, and the direwolf wobbled a little before laying down. Naruto got the buckets and went to throw them away. Rickon. Sansa. Rickon exclaimed as he ran into his elder sister's arms. After not seeing each other in a long time, the two Stark siblings shed tears of pleasure. What just happened? Osha inquired as Naruto passed her with a sack of weapons and materials he had taken from last hearth and gave to Brienne. I'm sorry for your sudden disappearance, but I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just doing some good work and making sure two siblings are reunited, Naruto said, motioning to Sansa and Rickon, who were still in their hug. That's when he received a beep on his watch from the location in Marine, indicating that Daenerys needed him. Sorry to cut and run, but I'm needed elsewhere. Brienne, Sansa, I'll leave you to explain what's going on. Remember, stay here and stay safe. Before speeding away, Naruto gave them a false salute. What the fuck was that? Osha said, perplexed by what had just occurred. Sansa, how are we here? Rickon inquired. It's a long story, Sansa answered as the newcomers settled into their new digs. XXXXX line break Marine's journey was going substantially differently than it would have if Naruto hadn't intervened and helped her. Granted, no one knew but Naruto, but the difference was significant. Marine was preoccupied with work on his behalf, which involved developing work in the city and providing people with jobs and compensation. Because trade had expanded, more commodities were arriving. A new legal system was put in place, as well as a new advisory group to help administer the city.
More crops were being grown, copper things were being forged and sold, and the discovery of new gem veins outside the city was the most significant windfall of all.
Mining for sapphire, ruby, silver, iron, and gold was extremely beneficial. Not only that, but Daenerys was reconciled with Viserion and Rhaegal, and the Sons of the Harpy were decommissioned. All of the Harpies had been apprehended, and the information they were provided enabled them to thwart the efforts of the other masters and slavers. Marine was safe, and its inhabitants were doing well. Of course, Naruto questioned what impact those modifications would have on subsequent occurrences. One particular occasion would be Tyrion and Ser Jorah's confrontation with Daenerys. On the show, she saw Ser Jorah and Daenerys after Daenerys agreed to reopen the combat pits, but those events did not occur on the program, so he wondered how they got back to Marine. Naruto appeared half an hour later outside the Great Pyramid, where the Unsullied snapped to attention but relaxed once they realized it was him. Her Grace summoned me, Naruto explained, and they all nodded before leading him inside. Daenerys had just returned from a meeting with Ser Jorah Mormont and Tyrion Lannister. They came at Marine on a commerce ship they had sneaked into. One of the Unsullied recognized Ser Jorah and seized him, but he claimed to have a gift and needed to meet with the Queen, resulting in a dramatic scene in the throne room. Daenerys spared their lives, but Ser Jorah was exiled once again. She was currently meeting with Tyrion to get a better sense of him. When they spotted Missandei, Naruto was guided through the halls and corridors. She greeted him, Lord Naruto, you've returned. Please, Missandei, he said, it's just Naruto. Her Grace has summoned me. Yes, Ser Jorah Mormont and Tyrion Lannister have arrived, she explained. Ah, I see. Ser Jorah was banished, and she's talking to Tyrion right now, he inquired, and she nodded. Would it be possible for me to speak with them? Follow me. She requested that I accompany you in when you arrive, Missandei said as she led him to the conference room. Can you get me anything? Naruto said, no, I'm fine. Thank you. When I arrived, everything seemed fine in the city. How have things actually been? Peaceful and progressive since your last visit, with no further attacks or words on the Sons of the Harpy or moves from the other masters, and the Miranese kept busy with the projects and work Her Grace has implemented thanks to you, Missandei responded. I'd like to thank you personally for your assistance the last time you were here. And by that, you mean keeping Grey Worm from getting injured? He pondered, seeing her blush. It was my pleasure, Missandei, it's my specialty. Of course, she said as she led them into the room. When he came in, he noticed Daenerys at a table with Tyrion. Forgive the intrusion, Your Grace, but you summoned me? Naruto asked as he entered. Daenerys smiled and stood up before approaching him. I apologize for being late, but even with my speed, it takes me a moment to arrive. Thank you for coming, I was just meeting with someone, Daenerys explained, pointing to Tyrion. And I understand why you summoned me, and I'm guessing Ser Barristan told you what I told him before I left? He questioned, and she nodded. Well, I meant it. Tyrion will be a huge help to you in the future. I agree with the stranger. I'll do whatever it takes to keep me alive and not dead, Tyrion said. I'm not sure. I could still have him killed. Your advice has proven invaluable, Naruto, but it would make things simpler, Daenerys stated, although the undertone in her voice indicated she was half joking. True, but Tyrion has already escaped one death sentence. He's crafty, and that intellect would be wasted, Naruto said as he moved over and refilled Tyrion's cup with wine while Daenerys sank back in her chair. Tyrion told him, now you're just flirting. Please forgive me, Esser, but I don't know you. Your face and appearance are unknown to me, and I can't say I've ever heard rumors of someone like you walking around. Because I'm not from Westeros, and my story is rather complicated, Naruto explained as he ate a grape. But enough about me. This meeting isn't about me. It's about you, Tyrion, who's still wondering if you made the right decision in listening to Varys and traveling all the way here to meet Daenerys. How do you know so much about Varys? Tyrion inquired. I know a lot of things, and I know a lot about you. A smart man with a quick wit and a good heart born into a family and world that doesn't understand him, so he's had to mature and learn to defend himself in ways that others can't. How did you put it to Jon Snow when you neared the wall? Your brother has his sword, and you have your mind, and a mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone. By the way, he and Sansa both say hello. Is Sansa okay? Tyrion inquired, and Naruto nodded. Good. I'd always wondered what happened to her, and I assumed Littlefinger still had her in his grasp. Oh, he did until I intervened. She's safe now, away from the Boltons and Stannis.
He's marching against the Boltons as we speak in his quest to take the Iron Throne, an impossible task if ever there was, Naruto pointed out. He has no love from the Northern Lords, and they're too afraid to fight against the Boltons, who are crafty and crazy enough to actually win, and if not, maybe they take each other out. As for King's Landing, things are still a little tense there, but they've settled thanks to me.
You? Tyrion inquired, and how did you manage to do that? By doing. I'm not particularly interested in politics because I'm more comfortable getting things done, no offense.
Daenerys answered, none taken. When you left King's Landing, the Sparrows rose up, led by the High Sparrow, a hardcore believer in the faith of the Seven and someone who relishes pushing his beliefs on others. He attacked inns and flushed the sewers with wine, attacked those who don't follow the faith of the Seven, and attacked the dens of sin and scared the brothel workers into submission. I ended up breaking a lot of Sparrow bones that day.
Tyrion complimented him, saying, praise be to you. The crown isn't doing anything to stop him? Well, Tommen is still a naive child who had no idea what was going on, and we can thank your sister for putting the High Sparrow in the position of High Septon, Naruto explained. I've met her, and she's every bit as bad as everyone says she is. I have every personality in the family, Tyrion observed. But she gave him the power, and the High Sparrow is single-minded and unshakable in his belief. It doesn't matter if you're a commoner or a high-born, if you break the faith of the Seven, you're his to judge. I managed to hold his men back and give him a good scare, but he's likely still an issue. The Tyrells are bringing in help to handle the city, and I worked with them to try and get things in.
Tyrion finished his cup of wine and poured himself another, saying, I wish I could have seen that. Would you like some before I drink it all? No, thank you, he said before turning to face Daenerys. Things in the capital have calmed down, but it won't last forever. You have time to build your strength and ensure things improve here. Which they are, and thank you once more, Daenerys said, and Naruto grinned. Tyrion saw their conversation and saw her real expression of appreciation and honesty. It's not impossible that Varys was right about you after all.
Varys, King Robert's spymaster? Daenerys inquired.
He's the one who smuggled Tyrion out of King's Landing, and the one who persuaded Tyrion to find you. Did you really have to stay in that crate the whole trip? Naruto questioned, noticing Tyrion's surprised expression. Like I said, I know a lot about a lot of things, but unlike the spider or Littlefinger, my knowledge comes from a more divine source. Show him, Daenerys ordered to Naruto, and he began vibrating his body at breakneck speed to create lightning. Tyrion shaded his eyes from the light, but he could see lightning strike Naruto's body, yet he was okay. Then he vanished in a strong blast of wind. Tyrion actually dropped his cup of wine in surprise and looked perplexed, whereas Daenerys sipped her cup calmly. Naruto is a rather unique individual with distinctive talents.
Naruto suddenly reappeared in the same location where he had vanished, but this time he was eating bread. Many talents. It appears so, Tyrion mumbled, and to think I have seen everything. Trust me, there are still things to see, Naruto informed him. I told Daenerys to trust you when you arrived because I knew you'd be here. My gifts give me some insight into certain events, and your arrival was one of them. Granted, the decision to kill you is still up to her, but I don't think she will, and I think you're still here.
Your gifts, Tyrion replied, partially. They've allowed me to see things in the past, yes, but how I interpret them is up to me. I'll admit that I didn't trust the spider and you that much given your name, and I apologize for judging too quickly, but the more I saw, the more I could see that you and I share something, Naruto stated. We're the outliers. Outliers. We stand apart from others, like Daenerys.
Many people don't expect much of you, but I can see that deep down you have a good heart and a good mind only impaired by what people see of you.
You've done a lot, but there's still work to be done. Men of talent have a role to play in the war to come. Naruto couldn't believe he quoted Varys but admitted he had gotten past his initial dislike for the character. No one is perfect, but it's our flaws that make us human. Take it from someone who's seen it all, but compared to a lot of the bad people out there, you're one of the good ones, and you can help someone else. You must have a lot of trust in me, Tyrion remarked. He was startled that someone would stand up for him in this way. I do. Greatness recognizes greatness, and think of how much you can show up every single person who ever doubted you by rising above them to be advisor to a queen. Naruto said, although it's still up to her if she decides to take you on. Best of luck.
Naruto gave him a wink and left the two to their conversation. He was led to the council room that Daenerys frequently used and waited for her talk with Tyrion to end. He strolled out onto the balcony and took in the view while eating some of the food that had been laid out for him, which he gladly ate.
Sir Barristan approached him and inquired, so, how was King's Landing? It smelled just as bad as everyone said it did, even after I helped clean it. It's as if the stench is baked into the stone, Naruto said, and Sir Barristan laughed. Among the first things Daenerys should do is a thorough cleaning and sewage reform. It was not pleasant.
Add it to the list of things for her. How were things in Westeros? Sir Barristan pondered.
Complicated. Naruto explained to the Elder Knight what was going on and his exploits there, excluding Sansa and Rickon. He also told him about the conflicts he and his sword had been through, which made for an interesting story. Daenerys entered the room about an hour later, having finished several dishes of food.
Sir Barristan and Naruto both lowered their heads and said, Your Grace.
Sir Barristan, might I have a moment with Naruto? She requested, and he nodded before departing.
I assume things went well with Tyrion and he's still alive, he predicted.
See that in your visions? Daenerys inquired. No, my visions are no longer effective. Everything I saw up to this point was accurate. What happens now is up to chance, he conceded. Just a feeling, and you two will get along fine. All you have to do is keep him from drinking himself to death.
As they gazed out at the city, she murmured, I'll do my best. Thank you once more for everything you've done. You're welcome. Things will get tougher, but you'll have some extra help, Naruto said.
He nodded as she remarked, You sound like you're leaving. I am. For a little while. I've been away from home for a while now, and I need to get back to see how things are. I came all this way to help you and others, and I will continue to do so, but there are some things I left unfished back home as well, he explained.
And you miss your beloved? She inquired, to which he replied with a nod. She is very special, and she is very lucky to have you.
I'm the lucky one, and I've been away from her for far too long. In an ideal world, I'd stay longer, but I can't, which is why I've helped you so much so that things go smoothly until I return, he revealed. When will you return? Daenerys inquired. I'm not sure, but I promise I will, and hopefully next time I won't be alone. He informed her, and she smiled. There are others back home who were similarly blessed by the gods, people I believe you would love to meet, he said. Well, until we meet again, Daenerys said as she went in for an embrace, which Naruto returned. She had to admit that, despite their unexpected meeting, she had become fond of him. Naruto stepped back from the hug before kissing the back of her hand, like he had seen in movies. Until we meet again, Mother of Dragons. He smiled at her before walking up to the balcony and sitting on it. He then winked at her before falling off. She dashed over when she noticed him speeding down the edge of the pyramid. She chuckled as she watched him walk away, thinking that their next encounter would be soon. While running back to Westeros, Naruto took out his phone to look at the photo of him, Daenerys, and Tyrion.
He took it during their meeting when he demonstrated his talents to Tyrion, at the precise angle so their faces were visible.
It would have been strange if he had asked for their images, but finding something quickly was simple. Daenerys was the first person he said farewell to, but she was not the last. He had spent a long time on this planet and was ready to return home, but first he would say farewell to everyone and promise to return. Naruto also wanted to assist Jon in getting the Wildings south. He stopped in King's Landing and met with Marjorie.
There were some additional brawls with the Sparrows in the city, but nothing important happened other for Cersei being jailed by them.
The information he provided to Marjorie was passed on to the Sparrows, and Cersei was fooled into leaving the Red Keep to meet with the High Sparrow, who ultimately captured her. So there was that. It sounded like the performance, so there was that. Naruto only wished he could have witnessed it. He told Marjorie the same thing he told Daenerys and promised to return soon, and he was rewarded with a kiss on the cheek for his efforts. After that, he walked north, and the Boltons were chasing after him, but they never found Sansa. He dropped by to check on her and Rickon, and they were okay. Brienne, Pod, and Osha would keep them safe, and Pod could venture into adjacent towns for future supplies and information if necessary. Sansa wished Naruto well and thanked him for his return. To everyone's surprise, he then followed Jon's location beacon farther north and joined him on the deck of a ship. How did you get here? Jon inquired. As they sailed for Hardhome, Naruto reminded him, I told you I'd be back. Naruto had no idea what awaited them, all he could hope for was that everything went smoothly. Line break. Hardhome. Naruto was in the boat with Jon, Tormund, Ed, and the Night's Watch and free folk as they paddled to the shore of Hardhome. Naruto finished his 20th speedster energy bar to ensure his metabolism was fully charged. He'd be ready if they tried to attack. Their boat came ashore, and they stepped out to the unpleasant stares of all the free folk. Does anyone else feel like a deer about to be shot? Naruto inquired. You trust me, Jon Snow? Tormund inquired. Does that make me a fool? Jon questioned. Tormund told him as they moved on, we're fools together now. When the free folk heard a piercing whistle and saw an armed wildling party walk up to greet them, they backed up. A wildling wearing bone armor and a bone mask led them. Lord of Bones, it's been a long time. When I last saw you, the little crow was your prisoner, now it's the other way around, what happened?
War. War? You call that a war? Laughed the Lord of Bones. The greatest army the North has ever seen cut to pieces by some southern king.
We should gather the elders and find a quiet place to talk, Tormund suggested.
You don't give the orders here. Tormund stated as the Lord of Bones examined him, I'm not giving an order. Why aren't you in chains? Jon stressed, he's not my prisoner. No? Who or what is he? Jon remarked, we're allies. You fucking traitor. Yelled the Lord of Bones as the other wildlings prepared to battle. Naruto reached for his blade in case something happened. You're fighting for the crows now? Tormund corrected him, saying, I don't fight for the crows. We're not here to fight, but to talk, Jon reassured him.
Is that right? You and the pretty crow do a lot of talking, Tormund. The Lord of Bones poked him in the chest several times with his bone staff. And when you're done talking, do you get down on your knees and suck his cock? Tormund drew his staff and struck the Lord of Bones in the stomach and across the face. He then began mercilessly hitting the Lord of Bones with his own staff until his skull was a bloody mess. Gather the elders and let's talk, Tormund said as he marched farther into the encampment.
Well, we're not off to a good start, Naruto observed as they pursued Tormund. The elders and leaders of the Wilding gathered in a hut around a great fire to hear what Tormund and Jon had to say. Things were heated, so Jon needed to perform well with his peace offering and proposition.
My name is Jon Snow, and I'm the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. We're not friends. We've never been friends, and we won't become friends today. This isn't about friendship, it's about survival. It's about erecting a 700-foot wall between you and what's out there, Jon explained. Cersei reminded him, you built that wall to keep us out. She was one of the Wildling chieftains, which was astounding given that she was the only female among them, and she commanded a lot of respect. Since when do the crows give two shits if we live? Laboda wondered. He had been the Then's Magnar since Jon killed the last one. In normal times, we wouldn't, but these aren't normal times. The White Walkers don't care if a man is free or crow, we're all the same to them, meat for their army, Jon explained. Beating the White Walkers? Good luck with that, maybe run away from them, Cersei reminded him. Jon took off the pack he was carrying and approached her to pass it over. As she took it, the other wildlings stiffened up. It's not a trick, it's a gift for those who join us, Jon said as Cersei unzipped the bag and took a dragonglass dagger from it. Dragonglass. A Night's Watchman used one of these daggers to kill a walker.
You saw this? Laboda inquired of Jon. Jon assured him, no, but I trust the man. There are some old stories about dragonglass, Cersei explained.
And there are old stories about ice spiders as big as hounds, Laboda added, considering the idea ridiculous.
And you don't believe the things we've seen? Cersei asked.
And that's not all we have to offer, Jon replied, as Naruto took a step forward. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and I'm not with the Night's Watch or any army or kingdom south of the wall, but I've been sent here to assist in the fight against the White Walkers, Naruto explained. Sent by who? Cersei inquired. The gods. They know what's coming and have empowered me to come help, Naruto stated, only for the free folk to giggle as if it were the funniest thing they'd ever heard.
Do you know how many times we've heard people say the gods spoke to them? Too many to count. And then a fortnight later they're dead with their guts spilling out, one of the Wildlings chieftains said, to which some chuckled.
It's best just to show them, Tormund said, and Naruto nodded. Naruto began to vibrate at breakneck speed, pouring electricity around his body. His little show took the free folk off guard, and they fled in terror. Even the giant One Weg One Dar One nicknamed One was taken aback and terrified. And giants didn't have anything to fear. Naruto increased his speed, and more bolts of lightning emerged before he came to a halt and they vanished. I'm different because I have proof, and Jon wasn't wrong about the dragonglass weapons working on White Walkers, Naruto said as he pressed his watch and holo projected a scene from Season 3 in which a White Walker attacked Sam and Gilly. He had Gideon abridge it in sections, but he showed Sam stabbing the White Walker in the back and hearing its ear-piercing death scream before shattering like ice. Jon is correct. The White Walkers can be defeated, but only if we all work together. Jon offered, come with me and I'll share these weapons. Where are you taking me? There are good lands south of the wall. The Night's Watch will let you through the tunnel and allow your people to farm those lands, Jon explained, and the offer was met with murmurs among the wildlings present. I knew Mance Rayder. He never wanted a war with the Night's Watch, he wanted a new life for his people, for you, and we're ready to provide you with that new life. If, Cersei wondered, knowing there had to be another reason. Jon offered, if you swear you'll join us when the real war begins. Where is Mance? Laboda inquired, and the other wildlings did as well. He had died. How? There was some silence before Jon decided to speak out. I put an arrow through his heart. Killer. Murderer. Kill him. The wildlings yelled for blood and pulled out their weapons. As Tormund tried to calm them down, Naruto prepared to draw his blade. Hey. I propose we send the Lord Commander back to Castle Black with no eyes, Laboda proposed, wielding a knife, but Tormund stepped in to protect Jon. "Hey, none of you saw Mance die." "I did," Tormund said. "The southern king who broke our army, Stannis, wanted to burn him alive to send us a message." Jon Snow defied that cunt's orders. His arrow was mercy. What he did took courage. That's what we need today. Courage to make peace with men we've been killing for generations. Cersei reminded him, "I lost my father, uncle, and 2 brothers fighting the damn crows. I'm not asking you to forget your dead. I'll never forget mine. I lost 50 brothers the night Mance attacked the wall. But I'm asking you to think about your children now. They'll never have children of their own if we don't band together now. The long night is coming, and the dead will come with it. No clan can stop them. The free folk can't stop them. The Night's Watch can't stop them. And even if we can't stop them, I'd rather die on my feet still alive than as one of them," Naruto added, and many others agreed. Naruto's prior display of power had a big influence on them. Seeing was believing, and seeing such power gave them some hope. "You vouch for this crow, Tormund?" Cersei inquired. "The crow is prettier than both of my daughters, but he knows how to fight. He's young, but he knows how to lead, and seeing what the walking spiky son did made me a believer," Tormund explained. "Is he talking about me?" Naruto said, and Jon nodded. Tormund explained, "They didn't have to come to Hardhome, they came because they needed us and we needed them." Loboda commented, "My ancestors would spit on me if I broke bread with a crow. So would mine, but fuck 'em, they're dead," Cersei muttered as she approached Jon for a better look. "I'll never trust a man in black, but I trust you, Tormund," and seeing what the spiky-haired one did is believing. "This is the way," Tormund said, and they murmured to one another. A wilding elder spoke out, saying, "I'm with Tormund. We stay here, we're dead men, but there's a chance with King Crow." Tormund, one said, putting his trust in the man, which meant they had the giant on their side. Loboda went over, his axe in hand. "Keep that new life you want to give us, and keep your glass, King Crow, because God or no God, I'll never work with the crows. As soon as you get on his ships, they'll slit your throats and dump your bodies at the bottom of the shivering sea. That's our enemy. That has always been our enemy." Loboda and the Thens followed them out of the hut, but more than half of them stayed. "I fucking despise Thens," Cersei remarked, and Tormund agreed. The chieftains accompanying Jon and Tormund spread the message to their people, and Jon directed the men on the ships to begin sending in more boats to transport the wildlings onto the ships. They had 24 longboats that could only transport around 12 passengers, so it was slow going. Women, children, the elderly, and the sick were given top priority. They had been working for nearly a half hour and had only gotten a few hundred on the ships with the boats alone, but with Naruto's speed, he was able to increase that number to over 3,000. He transported the wildlings to the ships in pairs, but he was able to move them to the ship and back in a fraction of a second, so it totaled up. Given that the wildlings experienced motion sickness, take what you can get. Along with Jon and Tormund, the Night's Watch were assisting in getting people onto the boats. "How many of you are with us?" 10,000, Jon inquired. When Naruto emerged next to them with a gust of wind, Tormund said, "I'm not good at counting. That's starting to irritate me." "Sorry," Naruto said, "and yeah, about 10,000 in total, with about 3,000 already on the ships." "We're leaving too many people behind," Jon said. "The free folk are obstinate. You know how long Mance took to unite them." 20 fucking years, Tormund joked. "And he knew them better than I will," Jon added. "They're running out of food and there's nothing to hunt," Tormund reassured him. "He's right, let's just get the ones here on board first," Naruto said before consuming a speedster energy bar and super accelerated the following 1,000 on board the ship in groups of 2. Jon returned to work as they loaded more and more wildlings and supplies onto the ship. When Naruto heard a lot of dog barking and howling, he brought another 600 people on board the ship. He also heard some strong winds in the distance, which were just as severe. "Naruto, I'm picking up an unknown energy source coming in from the north. It could be magical," Gideon said. Naruto looked north and noticed a series of storm clouds and a dense stretch of fog approaching. He put on his goggles and began scanning what was approaching, but despite their advanced technology, they were unable to locate the source. Although there was too much interference, they were able to say unequivocally that this was not normal weather. When Jon and Tormund noticed Naruto looking north, they approached him. "What's wrong?" Jon inquired. "We're in trouble," Naruto said, and soon the fog descended, the wind picked up, and the temperature dropped. "Keep getting them onto the ships." Because something horrible was happening, Naruto resumed his super speed carrying and even sped up the pace. He was so right. Deep within the encampment, Loboda ordered the gate to the port and bay to be closed, thus locking out thousands of free folk. They begged, cried, and hammered on the gate to be let in when their voices fell silent. Loboda moved cautiously up to the gate, peering through a little breach to see nothing but deep fog. Nothing was visible more than 3 feet away, and he could hear distant screams and footsteps but saw no one. When an army of whites slammed against the gates, the only thing he could hear were their unnatural roars and growls. "Ready your arrows," yelled Loboda, as the wildling archers aimed for the wall. The whites utilized the weapons they had to gradually break down the fence. Loboda hacked one white's arm off with his axe after it stuck its arm through. The archers fired at any whites they could find, but their arrows did nothing. As one examined the big hole in the roof, the wildlings and Night's Watch in the hut prepared their weapons. They could hear thumping and snarling all around them, and they were scared as the whites descended to strike. Panic followed as the wildlings pushed their way through to try to board the boats. Wait, keep in line." Jon, Tormund, and the Night's Watch attempted to establish order among the wildlings, but they were panicked and racing to board the longboats for safety. Naruto rushed back and forth, reducing the number of swarming them bit by bit, but there were so many in a panic. Even the boatmen were terrified, and some were departing with half-full boats. "Duncan, hold the line," Jon yelled, trying to dissuade the wildlings from rushing them. "Lord Commander," exclaimed the captain, "get them to the ship and come back for me," Jon commanded his Night's Watch sibling. "But you'll never make." "Now," yelled Jon, and he did as he was instructed. That's when he noticed Cersei assisting a woman to a boat. "You really should be on one of those boats." "So should you. My little girls got on. Are they going to let them pass through the wall even if you're not there?" Cersei inquired. "You have my word on it. I've issued orders," Jon informed her. "Don't think you'll be there to enforce those orders," Cersei said as Naruto appeared next to her. "Give her to me," Naruto said, and Cersei did as he rushed away to a ship. When Tormund ran over to Jon, he returned and raced 2 more wildlings back to the ship. "If they get through, everyone dies." Tormund and Jon both unsheathed their swords as Jon realized he was correct. "Night's Watch, with me. Move. Jon roused his troops and marched towards the encampment to buy Naruto and the others some time to transfer as many wildlings as could to the ships. Whites were now streaming through and ruthlessly attacking everybody they could get their hands on, thanks to some cracks in the wooden barrier. It made no difference if the wildlings possessed weapons or if they gathered on a white. Arrows to the skull, limbs severed, swords thrust into the guts, yet nothing. The wildlings battled valiantly, but this was not a fight. As an army of the undead marched into Hardhome, it was a carnage. Jon, Tormund, and the others dashed to the gate to assist whoever needed it. Jon slammed Longclaw into a white, impaling it against the gate and hold to prevent more from entering. Tormund, bring the sleigh. Okay. He and the Night's Watch snatched a sleigh as the archer nailed the white to the wall with arrows before Tormund and the others wedged the sleigh in the wall's gap. Naruto reappeared on the coast, unsheathing his katana and darting across the area, slaying white after white. When 4 more whites raced at Cersei, she used her climbing hook and axe to break them apart, only for Naruto to chop them all in half at the waist. That's when they noticed the dead, decaying white children. Cersei and Naruto both froze in horror and shock before Naruto activated his gauntlet and shot an explosive dart that blew them to bits. "Cersei, hurry to the dock." Naruto's yell jolted her awake, and she nodded, hurrying to the boats as Naruto pushed forward, cutting through white after white. He activated his other gauntlet and utilized it to battle. The Night's Watch, Jon, Tormund, and the wildlings were fighting a losing struggle. When a bolt of lightning struck them and blew them to pieces, 4 more whites charged them. Everyone turned to see Naruto approach, his sword drawn and metal gauntlets wrapped around his fists and forearms. A white rushed him from the side, but he evaded it and slashed the white in half before aiming his gauntlet at the wall and releasing a small dart into a hole created by the whites. The dart then exploded into a cloud of foam, which formed into concrete, closing the opening and adding support to the wall. He shot 6 more darts to plug up various breaches, holes in the wall before severing another white in two with his sword and firing a repulsor beam at several whites creeping over the top. As Naruto walked over and stomped on its skull, Jon impaled a white on his sword and pushed it to the ground. When he noticed Jon glancing towards a nearby peak, he glanced too and saw 4 men on horses. Tormund and Loboda both saw them, and they were White Walkers. Jon's gaze was drawn to the cottage where Ed was, as well as the dragonglass weapons. "The dragonglass," exclaimed the narrator. "You and men, now," yelled Loboda. "Go, we'll cover you," Naruto said as he sidestepped a white and chopped off its head and legs. He turned and slashed one across the head with his sword before dashing around the area, slaying any whites who made it through the gate. He watched the gigantic 1-1 smash through the hut's walls while wearing whites, but he ripped them off and trampled on another before removing more. While Naruto, Tormund, and the others held off the whites for as long as they could, Jon and Loboda dashed into the blazing hut. Naruto then sawed another in half and decapitated another before unleashing repulsor blast after repulsor blast on whites approaching the entrance. Everyone heard a tremendous ear-piercing cry, followed by a leather-armored White Walker leaping down the mountain and emerging from the deep fog. He had pale white skin like a zombie, white hair and beard, yet he was wearing leather armor and gear and brandishing an ice axe, much like in the show. Tormund and the others were terrified when they saw the White Walker. As some wildlings attempted to murder Naruto, the White Walker concentrated his gaze on him and advanced toward him. One lunged with a spear thrust, but the white blocked it with his ice axe. He shattered the spear-like glass and severed the man's head. Another attacker struck him from behind, but his sword splintered against the weapon. The walker took him by the neck and snapped it with one hand, as if it were a twig. Naruto realized that the others were outmatched by the walker and decided that he would have to tackle it. He just hoped his sword didn't break. "Tormund, get the others out. Go," Naruto yelled and nodded, attacking a white before escorting the rest away. Naruto activated his gauntlet and launched a repulsor blast, but it struck the walker with no apparent harm. It didn't bother him, so he fired the final 3 explosive pellets from his forearm launcher. The explosion was loud, and Naruto shielded his eyes from the smoke, but the walker emerged unscathed and simply smirked. "Crap," Naruto grumbled, so he started racing around in a circle and then threw a lightning bolt, but the walker used his axe to absorb the energy and redirect it right back at him. Naruto was hit square in the face and slammed into a tent. His katana slipped from his grasp and landed near a fire pit, and he immediately discovered that being struck by a lightning bolt a second time wasn't fun. Since when could they do something like that? He noticed the ice axe coming at him and rolled to the side at the last second, barely avoiding it. He quickly rose to his feet and activated his forearm blade to strike the walker in the side, but when he made contact, his entire right gauntlet and repulsor shattered, as did the other weapons used against the walkers. Shit. Naruto backed up quickly to avoid the axe slash to the gut, then seized the weapon when the walker tried to attack him with it before his hands vibrated. When the walker seized him by the neck, he split the axe in half and hurled the ice blade section to the side. Naruto felt his body become colder by the second, like if he had been dipped into iceberg cold water, but it wasn't just his skin. He could feel every cell in his body slowing to a halt. His lightning flashed around his body, but its brightness had diminished greatly, indicating that whatever power the White Walker possessed was slowing his body, speed, and lightning. When Tormund appeared from the side with a spear and pierced the walker in the side, Naruto felt himself becoming weaker and weaker, losing strength and feeling in his limbs. The weapon stabbed him but had little effect, so the walker hurled Naruto into the Tormund, and the two tumbled on the ground before the walker pulled the spear out of his body. Before he tossed it aside, there wasn't a speck of blood or anything on it. Naruto felt a short respite from the frigid death he was about to face when whatever the walker was doing to him halted. He didn't feel the profound frost creeping deeper into his body, but he didn't feel well either. Similarly to how Snart's cold gun affected him and Barry, the walker's magic or whatever slowed him down and prevented him from accessing the speed force at the time. Naruto observed the walker pick up its ice axe blade and approach him, completely ignoring Tormund because he did not appear to be the greater threat. Naruto crawled away and stood up to flee, but stumbled because he was tired and crashed on his back. He backed away in terror as he saw the walker raise the axe, but he noticed his katana off to the side and grabbed it, bracing with both hands to deflect the walker's axe. Unlike in the past, when weapons shatter against Naruto's ice weapon, Naruto's katana did not shatter. The ringing clang of ice colliding with steel could be heard, yet Naruto was still alive. Tormund and the walker stood stunned as Naruto used his blade to deflect a walker's strike. The walker sensed the danger and attempted an overhead slash, but Naruto parried the blade to the ground and cut the walker across the neck, causing the walker's body to burst in an ice shower. Naruto collapsed on his knees in fatigue after witnessing the walker explode. His body felt like it had run a marathon with double the gravity of Earth and a battleship anchor on his back. Tormund drew his sword and raced over to assist Naruto up so they could both see Jon's victory over the walker. Longclaw blocked its spear, then parried its second attack before slicing it in the head, causing it to explode into ice as well. "Are you okay?" Tormund yelled, and Naruto nodded. "We've got to go," Naruto yelled, and Tormund nodded as they dashed to find Jon. Someone grasped Jon's arm, and he raised his blade, expecting to see a white walker, but it was Ed who was still alive. "Come on." "The dragonglass." Jon struggled to speak. "Forget about it," Naruto informed him as he and Tormund approached. "We can't stay here any longer. We have to get going." Screeching. When the four gazed up at the mountain where the White Walkers were stationed, a genuine tidal wave of whites came crashing down to the land. They landed on the ground and lay there for a few moments before getting to their feet. "Oh, fuck," Ed yelled. "Run." Naruto spurred everyone, and they dashed to the boats as quickly as they could. Not only did the whites come down the mountain, but the wooden gate ultimately gave way and collapsed, leaving them with two armies of whites after them. 1-1, let us go to the sea," Tormund yelled, and the giant dashed to the water. Naruto's speed was vanished for the time being, so he, Jon, Tormund, and Ed dashed to the boats, along with whichever survivors remained. 1-1 used a blazing wooden post as a bat to shield them as they hurried to the last boat waiting for them by the water. Cersei arrived, along with some Night's Watch and wildlings. "Cast away. Get out," Jon yelled. "Row quickly. Row," Tormund yelled as everyone climbed on and rowed away. 1-1 smashed a few more whites before trudging into the ocean to flee. Some whites climbed onto his back and attempted to murder him, but he tossed their bodies away as if they were nothing. "All right, let's go. Now," Jon gave the order, and they were rowed away as quickly as possible. Jon, Tormund, Ed, Naruto, Cersei, and the others were fortunate enough to survive, although several free folk were left behind. Naruto lacked the speed to save them, so all he and the others could do was watch helplessly as they were slaughtered. The screams of dread they heard would haunt them as the whites massacred them mercilessly. They even witnessed several White Walkers join in on the slaughter and personally murder a few free folk. But, because the whites or walkers couldn't swim, they came to a halt at the shore. That's when a lone White Walker appeared on the dock and stared at them. It was the Night King, as evidenced by its more regal leather armor and spikes on its helmet. He was staring at them, but his focus was fixed on Naruto and Jon in particular. Why? Because he murdered two of them. The Night King then gently raised his hands, and the dead bodies on the ground twitched before standing. Those who had recently died had turned into whites. Cersei and Tormund were shocked to see so many of their pals among them. The Night King's attention was drawn to Jon and Naruto. There were no words spoken, but the message was plain. "My army continues to grow. Whatever you do, I'll get more, and I'm coming for you." A few days later, the Night's Watch's Jon, the last of the Wildings and Naruto went through the freezing plain and snow to the wall in Castle Black. Jon took a step forward and peered up at Sir Alizer on the top of the wall, thinking that the gates might not open. Naruto clenched his hands, and lightning flashed around them. Whatever the White Walker had done to slow him down was no longer a problem. Even though it took some time, he regained his speed and was ready to use if Thorn did anything. As the gate opened and they passed through, luck was on their side. The Night's Watch stood guard as hundreds of wildlings went south past the wall. They had saved approximately 8,000 wildlings in total. Jon declared, "It was a failure." Sam assured him, "It wasn't. I went to rescue them. I messed up," Jon informed Sam. "You didn't let her down. Or him, or her. They are all alive because of you and no one else." Sam comforted him. "I don't think they've forgotten." Jon motioned to the Night's Watch brethren, who were contemplating the Wildings. When one passed by, their scorn was replaced with dread. When Jon saw Ollie come by, he was upset over what had transpired, and that's when Alliser Thorne came over. "You've got a good heart, Jon Snow. It will kill us all," he told him before leaving. Naruto approached Jon and stared at Sir Alliser. "I can take him to a remote island and abandon him there. It could make your job a lot easier." Jon shrugged as Naruto offered. "Are you all right?" Jon asked. "I'm all right now." Naruto looked down at his hands and was able to channel his speed again, restoring his powers. "I'm not sure what happened, but we need more assistance. And I know exactly where to obtain it." "Where?" Jon inquired. "I'm going back home. There are others who are like me. Other persons endowed with divine talents. They've stayed to protect our homeland, but they're needed here as well. Even then, with what's ahead, it might not be enough." Looking down at Longclaw, Naruto said, "Keep that sword close by. Valyrian steel may be our greatest option in the future, but it is in scarce supply. I pledge to return as soon as possible. Your promise helped prevent today's events from escalating into a larger massacre. I know you're up to the task." Jon addressed him. "You seem very comfortable with a man you've only met recently." Naruto brought this up. "I guess I'm just that dependable." Naruto shook Jon's hand as he admitted. "Then I won't let it go to waste." Naruto made a pledge. "I'll be right back." Naruto bid Ed farewell before doing the same to Sam, and Jon nodded. He then proceeded to the gate and shook Tormund's hand. "Take care, Tormund. You, as well, Lightning Man." Tormund said his goodbyes. Naruto returned his gaze to Castle Black and the Night's Watch, who were dissatisfied with the situation, and decided to issue a warning. "A word of caution to all Night's Watch members. I understand your rage, but I would not advise retaliation. If anything were to happen to Jon Snow or the Wildlings." Naruto began vibrating, causing him to channel a powerful lightning storm around him, and his eyes began to shine crimson. "You're not going to like what happens to you." He then shot off at supersonic speed, terrifying the Night's Watch. His threat's effectiveness would be revealed later. Naruto continued to accelerate, and when he had had enough, he concentrated and opened a portal to the multiverse, which closed as soon as he passed through. He was on his way home, but he promised to return. The long night was approaching, and the dead would accompany it. He wasn't going to forget it. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast and for this interest video. I hope you did enjoy this spirit story, and if you did, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.